Hello, everybody. I just got to get everything synchronized here, so give me a minute. That's one going, it looks like. Cool, okay. Hello, everything's synchronized here, so give me a minute. That's one. That's two. Cool. All right. And get my chat windows going, and then I can clear all this out. Alrighty. Sorry, folks. No way to avoid this part. I'm doing simulcast things now, so it takes me a little bit longer to get going in the beginning. Don't mean to be like whatever, but if I just concentrate on getting it done without having to talk too much, I'll get it done faster. So, well, thank you for joining. All right. I wanted to talk tonight about things that involve, cyclical things, seasonal cycles, rituals, but I'm talking about it because of its May Day, and I wanted to talk about like why May Day is significant, I guess, to different groups and why it gets repurposed for various things, I think. And I'm also kind of looking at it from a lot of different angles because I think what made me review May Day closer a while back, like years ago, actually, before I really got deep into, God, when did I really start to study things like, I'm trying to think of when I first discovered the Wicker Man. I don't remember exactly, but it was long after it came out. Obviously, it was only in the last 5 years or so that I even understood what the Wicker Man was really trying to do or was about. I knew they'd made a remake of it that Neil LaBute directed, but I hadn't seen that either. And even though I thought that Neil LaBute had made a few quality films, they were just so dark and cruel. Good quality films, but they're just emotionally cruel films. And the characters are emotionally cruel. And I think there was a time in my life where I found that to be interesting as a character study. But like now, I don't know. If I watched it now, I think I would have a much different reaction to it, or I wouldn't see some of the things as darkly humored. I would probably just find them disturbing. That's all, to be honest. Neil LaBute did a few films like Your Friends and Neighbors. That's pretty good quality, actually. And one called In the Company of Men. That is one of the cruelest films I've ever seen. It's just about wicked men and just how awful they can be to one another and women, and that's all it is. I mean, like I don't need a 2 hour reminder of that shit. It's just specific to guys is all. It's kind of like a guy culture type commentary on the cruelty of men when they're trying to be like one another, when they get caught up in like group think and the types of deceptions that occur because men require, I think, a little bit more. I don't know if this is fair to say. Let me just tell you, like in my experience, now, not the ones that I tend to be friends with necessarily, but because the ones that I tend to be friends with are more like me. Like I don't necessarily look for other guys to approve of what I'm doing before I think it or do it or whatever. I just observed in my history that, again, this isn't a gender thing. I'm just telling you just to be blunt about what I've observed is that guys have a tendency more often than not to kind of look to the other guy and go like, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? Well, I kind of think that they're right. Do you kind of think that they're right? Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think we should agree on this? Yeah. There's more of that kind of going on more frequently. Not always, guys, because I've been different than that myself. So I don't want any guys to get offended or anything like that. But, come on. You've seen what I'm talking about, obviously, in work environments. I'm not saying that women don't do this, but in my work environments that I was in, they were almost always the ones that just were like going, guys, make a decision. Do I need to step in and do this? Okay, you agree, you agree, you agree. Great. You guys all agree. So let's get this done. Right. It just, there's something about how it molded it all together in a way that just brought it cohesive. It's like the guys kind of knew what they were supposed to do, but they really did kind of almost need that quick stamp of affirmation to say, like, yeah, guys, you got it right. You know, you look like you're agreeing. Do you need me to say that it's okay now? Uh-huh. It's okay. Great. We all agree. There's just, I think, though, that it really is something that's more about human nature, guys. I don't think we should be offended by this. I think the problem is that our culture just keeps trying to reprogram us into being a bunch of things that we normally aren't. And yeah, there's deviations in nature. There's ways that, you know, whatever and everything like that. But like the man's man model of being a man, they really do want to kind of take away from that us right now. And I'm not trying to make this like the theme of the conversation tonight or anything else like that. It's just I was been thinking about some of the footage that I've been seeing lately, though, and it's just I don't always understand what's going on in people's minds where they don't feel the need to stand up, you know, or just step in a little bit from time to time and say to somebody like, hey, that's wrong, you know, don't bully that person, or don't get in their personal space there, you know, like stop shoving them or whatever. I don't know. I've just seen too many times where people kind of lack chivalry or just basic, you know, like, hey, that's a person that isn't as big or whatever kind of thing. But then today I started seeing something that was really manipulating the optics of that, guys. And I'm just saying, like, you know, Portland's a crappy situation right now, not to get into that topic really quick, except that, yeah, they're doing tons and tons of protests relative to May Day. And, you know, that is relevant, actually. So I think that it's not the worst topic to transition into. It's just to say that May Day is a holiday that has significance for all sorts of reasons. I was studying it lately more from an esoteric angle, and like what pagan civilizations and pagan groups and religions, you know, at a more scientific level, guys, because I don't think that there's anything wrong with a person being pagan in itself, provided it's, you know, just simply what the word implies. It's just, you know, worshiping of seasons and honoring of those types of things and earth-based energies. I kind of get that, you know. Not everybody fits the model of wanting to be a Christian and things like that, or a Muslim or a Jew or one of these other religions. And a lot of people identify with paganism. And it makes sense to me, guys. It does. I thought about it a long time. It's why the movie, the original Wicker Man, is so compelling to me. It's a very fascinating film. Hang on really quick. All right. It's a big part of the Wicker Man that fascinated me was that it is like a meeting between a guy that's a Christian and a group of people that have separated themselves from everyone else. They're on an island, Summers Isles Island or something like that. And he's given a letter. He sent a letter to the mainland saying that there's a girl that's missing that's on this island. And it's an island basically that's populated by people that are of a pagan religion. It's private. They don't want anybody there. They don't want anybody interfering with their ways. And when his plane shows up, you know, they're all like, this is a private island, man. You can't come here. And he's like, but I'm a police officer. You have to let me on. And he's like, they're like, no, sir, you have to have written permission, you know. And he's like, no, you have to let me on. They're like, all right, fine. So they let him on the island, and it's May Day festival time. And then, you know, he proceeds to sort of have a clash with their culture because he's Christian, you know, he's saved himself his whole life for marriage. He's really on the cusp of getting married after saving himself all those years. He really takes his faith seriously on top of being a police officer. So, I mean, to be blunt, guys, you know, this guy must be wound up pretty tight. That's all. I mean, because he looks like he's at least in his late 30s to early 40s and everything like that, you know, or perhaps he's younger than that. I don't know. But maybe it's just because he's so serious that I thought he was older. I don't know. Excuse me, didn't mean to slurp my coffee there. It's hot. But the what it reminded me though is that the way he responds to all the May Day festivals I thought was pretty fascinating. And he it's kind of a movie that I don't know. Like, yeah, it's dark, and without saying too much, it does actually have a pretty. I mean, yeah, guys, it's how do I say it? Like this, it's not the kind of movie that really everybody can watch or should watch. Is all I'm going to say. But if you want an education to things like that are of pagan rituals, things that really do get into deep, like why are these people doing it? Why do they sing the songs they do ritualistically? Why do they do fire dances? And the characters actually explain it. The Christian police officer is in constant conflict with the people on the island because he's offended at a moral level to their behaviors. And so this is kind of where I was kind of going, all right, I see this larger dynamic going on. Actually, it's not just in the Wicker Man. I mean, we have something like this going on in America and other parts of the world where there has been kind of this thing going on where Christians don't always understand the people that practice some of these traditions. And now I think that concepts of death and what the afterlife mean is where this all gets into something that's a lot more dicey, and why a group of people like that would choose to sort of isolate themselves and live on an island separate from everyone else. They have a much different concept of the death cycle relative to Christians. And as a result, they wouldn't feel comfortable being around a Christian society any more than Christians would feel comfortable being around them. These are groups of people that really have a completely different way of perceiving reality. And I would argue that outside of sacrifice culture, guys, which I don't agree with, I don't necessarily like when I was looking at what they were doing. A lot of times I was kind of like, well, I get it from this sort of earth-based thing, like why these people would have their traditions and their rituals. And like, for example, there's one scene where he's, the first night that he stays there, he witnesses a whole bunch of these couples all separated very, well, it's nearly, there's a whole bunch of couples on a hilltop, and they're all having sex in the middle of the night when the moon is out, and but they're spaced in this way that's pretty symmetrical and suggests ritual. And he's just like, it's an orgy, he's a Christian and everything like that. So he's looking at it from that perspective. He's thinking that this is just a hedonistic orgy, and he's not even thinking about sexual energy. These people do, is all I'm saying. Energetics and spirituality, I would argue that there's people that do things like that. Like it's a cycle relative to when the moon is passing. They're on top of a hill, and they all agree to go up there and focus and concentrate on something that's similar at the same time while they're having sex. What they're doing up there, folks, as much as that may seem offensive to some people, is actually some pretty high level bioenergetic science. They're kind of doing something. It's the same thing that they're doing with positive orgone radiation, which is an emission of plasma relative to an orgasm. It's the same reason why people practice ritual sacrifice on a hilltop, but that would be dark orgone radiation, and it's blood spilled into the soil as opposed to the aether from the sexual act, and all the emissions from the POR and everything like that emptying into the hilltop instead. It's a different type of energy. It's a different type of life affirming energy relative to the sacrifice culture. And so, yeah, to the Christian, they're offended by it. But you see, he hasn't even asked himself what he's offended by. I mean, everybody up on that hilltop there wasn't anything really creepy about it, aside from that they were just a bunch of people that didn't seem uncomfortable having sex on the hill. That was pretty much it, But that all kind of made sense to me, even though it may not be something that I would do. You know what I mean? I wouldn't necessarily be offended if I heard that people were like, yeah, well, here's this thing. Like we have this thing where we all focus and concentrate on a successful crop, and that we all focus on seeing all of the fields filled up with vegetables and everything that we need for the rest of the year. And when we perform this ritual together, we're able to manifest some pretty amazing seasonal crops, and we've never failed. Now, I want you to think about what I just said there. They think about something, because we know that thoughts become things. They go up to a hilltop. It's the highest point on an island that has kinetic energy and water flow underneath it. kinetic energy going boom, 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 especially if it's an island. They always have some strange energy signatures because of just, there's a small island of land. So there's something about the way that water is passing within that landmass underneath that creates these plumes of energy that go up into the ground and change the earth resonance. And I think that people can sometimes get an exponential factor of influence as like a beacon signal on those islands. So these people a lot of times have learned what their human machine can do. Their thoughts become things can do. Because if you just take like, a dozen or a couple dozen couples up to the top of that hill, they all focus on, like, they all know what their land looks like. They all think about the island. They go, this is what we're doing. We're going to focus on this entire field being filled with all the crops and vegetables and all the sustenance and abundance that we need. And then we're going to go up on that hilltop and have orgasms. And in the process of having the orgasm, they're programming the plasma platelets within their body, and the emission that occurs as their both thoughts become thinking. It's this amplitude factor by having all these people up there doing it at the same time, as creepy as it may seem to a person that doesn't practice something like that or wouldn't feel comfortable doing something like that in front of somebody else. You can't take away from the fact that there is a real science to the spirituality of what they're doing. That's all. You disagree with it, but it's a factor of energy that's just a different component tapping into earth energetics and earth energy. And then you get into things where Christians, and again, here's my olive branch, though. I'm not making justifications, and I would just ask that to the people that do that. That's my olive branch to you, but also to say to my, to know that when Christians meet into a church and they hold hands and they focus on the Christian cross and they look up, that they're doing something that has validity too. It's just a different form of energy that they're focused on relative to you. And once you understand that these things are not in competition, they're not in opposition, they actually fit like puzzle pieces. They're just layers to a larger way we all perceive reality. It just feels more beautiful that people think something differently than us and think it rigidly. I think that. I don't have to feel that way. I can look at it and go, wow, that's really cool. I see what they're doing. That's really cool. I don't have to do it myself. I can respect it from a distance, provided nobody's getting hurt and everybody's, of consenting, whatever, and legal and everything like that, And so, then you start getting into, with religion. There's this tendency, like the guy that's there as the peace officer, happening upon the ritual and then thinking that it must be something horrible and demonic or devilish too. See? And so what I'm suggesting to you is, in a situation like that, if nobody died, why would you call that, quote, satanic, or assuming that because it's pagan that it equals Satan? Again, or that it equals a Luciferian model or a devil type evil model, because it's just not the same thing. However, these things are often merged. For example, Hitler believed in paganism, and he believed in having paganism as a world religion, and that it would be a very simple form of it wherein people simply honored cycling of seasons, that it was all about worship of time. Seriously. And when you think about that, it's like, wow, if that was his idea to do that, and he wanted everybody focused on time, it seems to me then the ultimate thing he wants is people focused on death. If you're thinking about time, then you don't believe that energy is eternal. You know what I'm saying? You don't believe that nothing ever dies. You don't believe in a lack. Well, let me put it this way. To me, the whole point of what he was doing was he wanted everybody to believe in death. He wanted there to be like a death machine type cycle that people just simply opt into at a subconscious level to walk right into, step into the machine, like the Pink Floyd song, welcome to the machine. It's like that, it's just there to grind you up. It's there to like wait for you to say like, yes, I want all these rewards. I want this life. I'm willing to step in and grind into this machine. Please spit me out into something that's shiny and new and beautiful. Except it usually doesn't. It just grinds you up eventually. And then you forget what you are when you cycle back through. And again, I don't believe in, this isn't to me like believing in past lives, folks. It isn't like that. I don't think that that's what this is. I just think that space and time just don't exist. We're in a universal plasma field, and time is a shared perception that we all just agree upon. And it kind of makes sense that we would, because otherwise everything would just be sort of floating around. It would be a little bit weird. It's like KRS-One says in that one clip, he said, you know, if there wasn't this atom, proton, neutron thing, you know, you could talk to the chair. You know, it's like that thing, right? So, all right. Now, what I'd like to get deeper into with this one is to talk about, you know, hang on, I want to get my links out here because I want to get some things up on the screen while I talk about this. I apologize, folks. There's some obnoxious people that are testing their IP address things back here. What they do is they play signal tones. Traffickers like to play signal tones, and they make sounds because they think that sometimes if you're doing like a live feed, that gives them a doorway through to dope your information. But see, they can't really do it to me if I don't have an IP address available, because that really wouldn't make sense. Just thought folks might want to know that. It's not easy to do to me because I'm not one of your fucking patsies or mules, idiots. Sorry, that's just for a very select audience, nobody inside this chat. I know how to get around your tool lie IP system, punks. And I know who sicked it on me, just so you know. That's how I make sure that when you're trying to make it look like I'm doing something, I show live on camera during a live stream that I couldn't possibly have a data signal available because it's shut off. Anyways. I like getting the better of them. It's fun. They're stupid. They really only know how to be places for the mob. It's funny. They're not talented. Then they sit there and go, oh, man, shut up. Have a little tizzy fit. All right. Trying to get my shared screen thing going here. Oh, I'm not going to talk about that that thing yet. I'm going to talk about May Day really quick. Mayday, Mayday. All right. So May Day, it's 5/1, right? May 1st. Interesting, because Nevada has something called Area 51. Did anybody ever look into why it's called Area 51? Why is it called Area 51? Does it mean May 1st? Is it an inverse of the interstate that you take to get out there? I don't know. Trippy. Makes me kind of wonder right now, actually. I might look it up. As long as we're here doing this thing. Area 51 wiki. Not that Wikipedia is like the truth or anything, guys. It's just the fastest way to get to a common set of data that everybody looks at. Groom Lake. It's a common name of a highly classified United States Air Force facility located within a Nevada test and training range, a remote detachment administered by Edwards Air Force Base, the facility that is officially called Homey Airport, or Groom Lake, after the salt flat situated next to its airfield. Details of the facility's operations are not made public, but the U.S. Air Force says it is an open training range. It is commonly thought to support the development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapon systems. The USAF acquired the site in 1955 primarily for flight testing the Lockheed U-2 aircraft. The intense secrecy surrounding the base has made it the frequent subject of conspiracy theories and a central component of unidentified flying object lore. It doesn't say why it's called Area 51, though. Does it? Is this why? See, I still don't see any of this explaining it. It's now part of the so-called Groom Box, a rectangle measuring 23 by 25 miles. I'm still looking for the 51. 37 by 40 kilometers. That's a zodiac number, 37. 23 is popularized by Robert Anton Wilson and many others. Yucca Flat. The extraterrestrial highway south of Rachel. I've been out there, actually. I have some footage, actually, and some photos out there. All right. The origin of the name Area 51 is unclear. Well, there you go. There's my answer. It is believed to be from an Atomic Energy Commission numbering grid. Although Area 51 is not part of this system, it is adjacent to Area 15. Another explanation is that 51 was used because it was unlikely that the AEC would use the number. According to the CIA, the correct names for this facility are Homey Airport and Groom Lake, though the name Area 51 was used in a CIA document from the Vietnam War. The facility has also been referred to as Dreamland and Paradise Ranch. Well, that's an interesting correlation in data. The USAF Public Relations has referred to the facility as an operating location near Groom Dry Lake. The special use airspace around this field is referred to as the Restricted Area 4808. So there it is. The answer is, we don't know. So I don't know. Maybe somebody else has some insights into why it's called Area 51. Mayday, 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 51. So that's that. You know, I didn't talk about it yesterday, and it's not really part of my discussion tonight, but it is relevant that let's see here. Yeah, Area 51 shares a border with the Yucca Flat region of the Nevada test site, the location of 739 of the 928 nuclear tests conducted by the U.S. Department of Energy at NTS. The Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository is southwest of Groom Lake. So maybe this is part of it, guys, you think? Because, you know, the whole reason why I lived in Las Vegas to begin with when I was younger was because of this project. My father worked at the Department of Energy, and they transferred from Colorado to Nevada so he could work at Yucca Mountain. Well, not at Yucca Mountain, but it was because it was in support of all that. I don't think he actually had a whole lot directly to do with it officially. I think he did some other position, but it was at DOE. And I don't think we would have been there if this project hadn't been going. All right. So let's take a look at some of the Mayday things, as long as we're talking about 5-1 as Mayday. Because again, guys, that's kind of like part of what I do with this channel. I talk about multiple interpretations. Like, what if Area 51 was about Mayday? Did it ever occur to you? Maybe it was May 1st. There was supposed to be something that was like really significant on May 1st, 5-1. And maybe they didn't know if it was going to be May 1st or January 5th. So, you know, because sometimes in Europe it goes the other direction. So 1551. The highway that runs through the center of Nevada is 15, gets out to 51, kind of. Doesn't take you straight there. It's like they said, you got to take 375, the extraterrestrial highway, through Rachel and all that. But anyways, so 5-1, then you have International Workers' Day, which is something that the socialists and communists have designated May Day as. And so that's kind of an interesting correlation too, that, you know, these groups would choose something that really has its origins long, long before socialism and communism in, you know, something that's more of an ancient festival, a pagan festival, something that has a lot of ancient traditions associated with it relative to the changing of seasons. That's all. Why select that one? I don't know. And you see that there's traditions for May Day all across the world. Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Serbia, Spain, Sweden, Turkey, United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Wales, Canada, US all seem to have unique origins and celebrations relative to May 1st and May Day, or something they do for May Day that's unique to them. The earliest known May celebrations appeared with the Floralia festival of Flora, the Roman goddess of flowers, held from 27 April to May 3rd during the Roman Republic era, and the Mayuma, a festival celebrating Dionysus and Aphrodite, held every 3 years during the month of May. Now that's super interesting because one of the people that I've researched has a company named Dionysus. Hint. Not that I'm going to let them barge in on our conversation right now or anything. Wink. Anyways. Later, May festival celebrated in Germanic countries as Walpurgis Night, an abbreviation of Saint Walpurgis Night, known as Saint Walpurgis Eve, is the eve of the Christian feast day of Saint Walpurga, an 8th century abbess in Francia, and is celebrated on the night of April 30th and the day of May 1st. This feast commemorates the canonization of Saint Walpurga and the movement of her relics to Eichstätt, both of which occurred on May 1st, 870. Saint Walpurga was held by the Christians of Germany for battling pests, rabies, and whooping cough, as well as against witchcraft. Christians prayed to God through the intercession of Saint Walpurga in order to protect themselves from witchcraft. As Saint Walpurga was successful in converting the local populace to Christianity, and parts of Christendom, people continue to light bonfires on Saint Walpurga's Eve in order to ward off evil spirits and witches. Others have historically made Christian pilgrimage to Saint Walpurga's tomb and Eichstätt on the feast of Saint Walpurga, oftentimes obtaining vials of Saint Walpurga's oil. All right. So just kind of giving a quick rundown that you've got the socialists and the communists that all do May Day festivals as International Socialist Workers Day. And you've got pagan societies that do May Day. You've got various countries around the world that have their own different types of May Day festivals. And some seem to be designed specifically to ward off witchcraft, wherein other groups that are closer to paganisms, which may be doing something that those very Christian religions oftentimes define as witchcraft. It's interesting to me. It's like, they're like, well, so which one is the real one? Well, one seems to be a response to another. You know what I mean? Walpurgis, it seems to be like it's a response to the people that practice darker forms of paganism. And it was a defense at that time against those forms of paganism. Seems like it, right? Again, guys, I don't think that anything like relative to paganism is 100% anything any more than I think Christians are 100% good or bad. So don't think I'm picking on anybody when I do this material. Okay. I'm just talking about this at a scientific level. Here's the thing, guys. Like I see, like when I look at Islam, for example, relative to Christianity, I really don't see them as in competition. I feel like people are drawn to either faith for different reasons, but they're both looking at God. And that's the point, is they both understand that there's a creator and that it's something that's outside of themselves and is also inside themselves simultaneously. And in both of these groups seem to understand, well, not all the members per se, but like I think at the core levels, when I look at them and the rituals they practice, whether it's a Muslim with the prayer rug, or a Christian like going to a church and praying to a cross, or having rosary beads or something of that effect. When I look into the ritual practice of it and I look what they're focusing on and concentrating on, I see that they're both focused on God. It just always feels like to me that within Islam, there's something that's much closer to their feet touching the ground, their hands touching the ground, and there's something that's a much more grounded. Okay, that to them, there's this connection to the earth that is critical in everything that they do ritualistically, or whatever you want to call it within their, what's the proper terminologies, folks? Because I don't want that, when I say ritualistically, I just mean to say that whatever it is that you practice within your faith, that is a thing where if you say prayers or whatever, that when you do it in repetition, that thoughts become things aspect. Those rituals and procedures or processes that they go through are very earth based, and they're very earth grounded, and they're very much about aiming in directions, like pointing towards Mecca while doing the prayer. And then the thing I've always observed in Christian churches, and the things that I've known from Christians, is um, they do something that's like that also, yeah. But there also is this sort of concentration on bringing their brain state into a focused and quieted state, like for these ritual processes. And I don't, and yeah, they do the same thing within Islam with the prayer rug. I get it, but there's something too about the way that when they kind of reach that alpha state, or they're kind of focusing and concentrating here at the brainwave level, they're also the shape of the cross relative to what that does to their perception involving aether and focusing up into the sky. That's to me the difference, the major difference when I see what they do overall. I see Christian faiths, they tend to have this sort of concentration on things that are more etheric and sky based, and what the energy is doing within that realm. And I see that within Islam, I just tend to see that the rituals focus more on things that are earth based and earth grounded, and involve the shapes and symbols relative to that, and angles and things relative to that, and that's less of a focus within Christianity. I just kind of zoom out and review it that way. And then when I take another step back and I just look at some of these other religions, Judaism, which I don't know quite as much about as the others. Even when I was studying a little bit of the things involving, sorry guys, like Tibetan monks and some of their rituals and things like that, like the mandala thing that they do. There's something about the way that people focus and concentrate on things relative to geographic locations, the way they hive together within their faiths and religions, or don't, for that matter, what they focus on, and the separation of themselves from the rest of the populations in some cases. Like why would they all have the same like haircut, for example, and wear the same clothes? There would be a sense of not competing. There would be a sense of a common thought process, hiving together their thoughts and values in a way at this geographic location that, because they're so focused and dedicated to it, they may see this as a much larger holy work of amplifying their influence and creating global peace. That if they stay in a peaceful mind state, and if they focus on abundance for everyone everywhere, and they're this group of people that are on the Himalayas, very high up, I mean, like global reach, this area that the Tibetan monks are in, yeah, huge. I mean, anytime you're close to the Himalayas, all the people that are in Nepal, all those regions up there, the more you focus on something that's of a universal nature, where everyone receives abundance and everyone is in a state of balance, you could change the grid. You could change reality in a way that's exponential. They change physical reality. I don't doubt it any longer. I think the more you study, when you study the mandala, I'm not talking about mandala effect. I'm talking about study, like look up samsara. I'm going to tell you, like, if you look up these two terms, if you look up samsara and mandala, I can't do it because I always get copyright struck. I can't play them on my live material anymore. But look it up and you'll see that this is one of the most amazing things you'll ever witness, that it actually does happen. They could just set down cameras and you would see it and witness it, where these monks, they will synchronize completely, and they just add these little dots to this palette, like on a table, and create this huge symmetrical pattern without saying a word to one another. For hours they work on it straight, just tapping these little dots. I mean, I would struggle to create this level of precision on like one shape on the entire table, and they just do it perfectly all day without stopping. It's just like, wow. But what is going on there? This is the natural synchronization. It's the natural, quote, internet of things. Those familiar with that, where everything just, it's very simple, the processing. This person knows when they switch this on, the other one switches to an off. This one sends a command to that one. Very, like kind of almost like street light type simple methods of communication. But operating at a very subconscious high level, where each one knows drop dot, 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 blue color, green color, red color, yellow color. How they know where to do it and how to do it with such precision and not to even look at a reference chart. Where are they getting the pattern from? Where are they getting the blueprint from? This is what fascinates me about watching it. It's like, where's their blueprints? I don't see it anywhere. They're just thinking about the same thing at the same time and making it a reality. Wow. Whoa. Because I don't think they sit around practicing this. If they do, then wow, okay, great. But I mean, I don't think they do. This is part of their esoteric schooling. That's why it comes to them like that. That's why it just pours right out of them. This is literally them. They have the idea in mind, and something just, they hive, everything takes over, and then it makes the shape. And then why do they, if you've ever seen this process, after they finish all this, they literally, like, as soon as they're done, the guy just goes, they're like, all right, it's done. And then the person does this, they take a line, this, like, make a big plus through it, scrapes the whole thing out after doing all that work. Plus, X, and then they take brushes, all of them, sweep, 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 put it all into this pile, and then you clean it all off and put the all the little dots inside a nice cup to where it's cleaned off the table and there's no mess left behind after all that work. They just completely make peace with, it's over. You don't see them going like, no, keep it around. They're like, no, our work is done. What the point of that is entirely, I mean, I could speculate. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily nefarious, but I'm like, wow, that's just, there's a brilliance to that really requires further examination. How do they do it and why do they do it? I think it is about teaching us something about that we are kind of doing this anyways, all of us. We're doing something like the Mandela effect constantly all day long. Well, not the Mandela effect, I'm sorry, but we're making those mandalas. Sorry, I don't want to confuse those terms, guys, because it's not the same thing. The mandala, however you say that. All right, a little bit off topic, but all right. So paganism. I don't think we have to really necessarily get into a long discussion about what the official, term is here, but it just says it's a term used pejoratively in the 4th century of early Christians for people in the Roman Empire who practiced polytheism or ethnic religions other than Judaism. In the time of the Roman Empire, individuals fell into the pagan class, either because they were increasingly rural and provincial relative to the Christian population or because they were not militus Christi, soldiers of Christ. Alternative terms in the Christian text were Helena, Gentile, and heathen. Ritual sacrifice was an integral part of an ancient Greco-Roman religion and was regarded as an indication of whether a person was pagan or Christian. Paganism, as broadly connoted, the religion of the peasantry. All right, so this part, that's where I got kind of, oh, sorry, I didn't really expand that. But, so this is the part where if you watch the Wicker Man, this is what I thought was really compelling because I've measured that trees have life energy. I mean, trees seem to have some degree of consciousness. I don't know exactly how to prove all the rest of it out beyond what I've done. I don't have the gear to do that. But what I did show was that in one of my clips that when you place an earth probe that measures life energy, orgone, into the root structure of a tree, it's very, very strong, especially in the middle of the desert. I measured a tree in Olancha, Nevada. Or no, Olancha, California or Nevada. I don't know if it's officially California or Nevada, sorry. But it's in Olancha. I think that's technically California. Yeah, it is. And so it's Sierra Nevada mountains, and it's near the Crystal Geyser water plant, just so you know, where I measured that tree. But it's very desertous outside of that one big body of water, So I know there's something weird going on out there. Anytime you're in the middle of the desert and there's that one pocket of water, there's always a lot of energy there, life energy. And so I started thinking about this, because it wasn't that far away from one of the source water areas where they get Crystal Geyser water. And so, this tree really lit up like a Christmas tree out there in the middle of the desert. I'm just telling you guys, like, it had tons and tons of life. And when you put the probe even like about 3 or 4 feet away, not that far, but about 3 feet, I would say, about exactly that, it just dropped off exponentially. I mean, the level of energy was next to nil comparatively. And when it nearly registered at the max level, when it was near the tree root, which says to me this whole notion of trees actually having a consciousness to some degree is true. And then when I was watching the Wicker Man, there's a song that plays at the May Day festival. So they all dance around the maypole, which is, let's see here, May Day. Yeah, May Day, disambiguation, maypole. What is it? The maypole, 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 maypole. May Day. Anyways, maypole is the. Yeah, there it is. A maypole is a tall wooden pole erected as a part of a various European folk festivals around which a maypole dance often takes place. The festivals may occur on May 1st or Pentecost, Whitsun, although in some countries it is instead erected at midsummer. In some cases, the maypole is a permanent feature that is only utilized during the festival, although in other cases it is erected specifically for the purpose before being taken down again. And which is weird because I don't know about you guys. When I was in school, for some strange reason, we had May Day reinforced to us like pretty much every year. I can remember being in grade school and having to do something relative to May Day every year. Like, it wasn't like an official school holiday or anything like that. It wasn't that extreme. But I know that, like, as school activities, that there was always something involving a maypole and actually understanding this concept pretty rigidly. So I don't know what kind of education everybody else had, or if that's still a thing even. Probably is now, especially. Knowing how things are going now, they're even teaching kids, like, today's May Day, and that's why you should be communist. Learn the new model of America. From now on, it's no longer Independence Day, it's May Day, the International Communist Workers' Party Day. Dude, if I found out that was in our textbooks now, it wouldn't shock me. It's not funny, guys. It's one of those, it's funny because it's true, but it's not funny. Things are kind of getting that way, and I never would have said some shit like that, except I'm seeing it, so I can't not say it. Guys, back when people used to say that it might happen, I was like, no, it's not. Shut up. Relax. Man, and then here it is. People, it's happening to people. So, hey, touche, guys. Some of you are right. I just wish you'd had better messengers behind it. That's all. Some of your messengers suck. That's why I didn't listen to them. You know, if people warning me about these things in a way that I can jive with, it's fine. You know, I'll be like, oh, yeah, you're right. That's some bullshit. You know, let's all talk about this. But if you come at me with that Bill O'Reilly tone and go, all right, now, let me tell you something. There are these people. They're heathens. And they're dancing around a maypole. You know, crap like that. You know, I don't know if he does that, but, you know, but he always did things like that with, like, the death of Christmas. And I'd be like, relax, nobody's trying to kill Christmas. And back then it was true, guys. Nobody was really trying to do that. Not where I worked. And I used to have to explain to people, like, you guys, nobody's telling you can't send a Christmas card to somebody or give it to them or say Merry Christmas in the office. All that is totally okay. I don't know who the hell's telling you and filling your head up with these things. I used to be on a diversity council in my company, and people would ask about these things, and I'd be like, dude, you can say Merry Christmas. Relax. All the council's about is just to let you know that you might have some people that also have Hanukkah, and that, you know, some people have Ramadan, and some people have, that's all. Now, you don't have to care, and you don't have to acknowledge it, but don't be a dick about it. That's all. And they shouldn't be a dick to you about it. Then everybody's fine, right? Nobody gets canceled. Everybody doesn't have to include something, but you don't exclude it either. That's all it's about, guys. That, you know, we have to just understand that we exist in a pretty, you know, a lot of people from a lot of different places, you know, so whatever. But I have to tell you guys, in most of those offices, most of the people, you know, they were either atheist, agnostic, or Christmas is what they practice. And I was just in some areas where there was almost no other represented religions, guys. And we all knew each other and we talked about what we believed or didn't believe. And there was just very few cases in the areas that I worked in, because a lot of them were rural and they were in areas that just doesn't have a lot of diversity in religion. So just all I'm telling you folks is, like, I had to learn things relative between, Christianity, paganism, that there's, some people will justify killing a person because Jesus said so. Does that mean Christian is evil? Some people will go around lopping the heads off of Indians as conquistadors. Were they okay? Were they right? Were they doing it for Christ? No, that's not an acceptable form of practicing faith, you see. If death is involved, then no, because these are life-affirming religions, allegedly. So anything that's life-affirming that says, I'm going to kill something for this religion, then to me it just says that then that person is mistaken. The faith is for, if you should slip in that regard, or if you make an error or something like that, then what the faith is for is to give you a pathway to redemption. Is to give you some internal peace if you required it. Some people do, and they want that. And I don't want to be the person that sits there and tells them that it's garbage, or that it doesn't work, or that it's not true, because people make it that way. People manifest it. And so if people are wondering why I'm so friendly to so many different things, and, like, it seems like I'm just like trying to have it all ways, I'm just not, guys. I think that the longer I understand, the more I study bioenergetics, and energetics as a general science, this all, like, that you start to become more understanding of the way everybody perceives reality. I don't believe in flat earth, but the people that do, I understand why they do. And it doesn't offend me that they think that, provided they understand why I see everything as a universal plasma field, and I don't think it's flat or round. I think we perceive it, though, in a spherical manner. That is just reality. So if we're perceiving it that way, then we have to have math that matches it, and the math matches it. So in that aspect, I kind of go, well, okay, you can believe that. And I think having some people that believe that everything's a big sheet of grid paper is a little bit like what I just said with the other religions. That's kind of their function. Maybe that's part of what's keeping us grounded, that some people either don't know about the spherical model of spheres of energy, because it is a lot of spheres of energy, guys. It's not like it's a physical land matter any more than it would be a flat one. You understand that? It's a plasma field, more of a toroid, because what we're really experiencing, guys, is like this product of different energy fields. And so as they synchronize, we're kind of in the middle of it, forming physical reality through these competing spheres of energies, which are just, again, timeline perception. So I would argue whatever's in this hemisphere of the brain that's moving the energy in that direction would be how we perceive the future, and that direction, how we perceive the past. It's kind of like that. But it's not the future and the past. It's just, it's how we choose to represent it in our collective hive mind. We chose to say, yeah, we have cycles of time, and there's days and there's weeks, but we never had to. Not really. I know it seems like it because we've gotten so used to it, but we never had to be that way. We could have whisper words of wisdom, let it be. I can't do those high notes. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. That's what I say. Just let it be. Like the song, just let it be. Somebody else wants to believe something, let them. You don't have to change them. If you really want to change people, radiate what you do best. Be inspirational. Show people some love. They'll be drawn towards you. Show them some acceptance. Show them some understanding. Try to see it their way a little bit. That's what we need right now more than anything. We've got a shit president. We do. Letting all kinds of horrible things happen to our country by design. And nobody likes this person. Maybe we start with that. maybe he could actually serve a valuable function at this point in time because he's just so repulsive to everybody. To where we all kind of go like, guys, is this working for you? No. Is it working for you? No. All right. So how do we handle this? We got to have a bridge to get people that are radically different starting to talk. How are we going to get that bridge going? Because it's not working the way it's going right now. Right? I'm just trying to go with the things that I know are just funny. What's the absurdity in the moment right now that everybody can agree? How is this all freaking absurd that is nearly impossible for anybody to shoot holes in? There's just some really absurd things going on right now that aren't working for anyone. All right, I kind of covered these topics about the Wicker Man and paganism to a degree. Again, guys, I wasn't getting into a whole history of it. Oh, yeah. I posted something about anti-disestablishmentarianism earlier, and I was talking about John Irwin, but that's a whole other topic that I won't get into right now. He's one of the guys that's on the Basis Project that has some interesting material relative to Ireland if you're into that topic. So I found something in the movie Dragnet that I thought was pretty interesting. And I may switch back to the May Day thing, guys, but this is important because I've been talking about paganism, and that's why this whole thing got like really, really weird, okay? So look at this. Dragnet is a movie that came out in 1987. It's a directed by Tom Mankiewicz, starring Dan Akroyd and Tom Hanks, based on the radio and television crime drama of the same name. It's a parody and homage to the long-running television series, which had a guy named Joe Friday. And so Dan Akroyd in this movie effectively plays the nephew of the original Joe Friday from the television series. What's interesting about it is, I don't know how many of you have ever watched this, but if you check out the plot line, LAPD Sergeant Joe Friday's nephew and namesake, whose anachronistic views reflect those of his late uncle, is involuntarily assigned a cocky, streetwise new partner, Pep Streebek. Their contrasting styles clash at first, with Friday disapproving of Streebek's attitude, hairstyle, and wardrobe. However, they start to bond while investigating a series of bizarre thefts. One of the stolen items is the entire print run of Bait, a pornographic magazine published by Jerry Caesar. Reverend Jonathan Worley has been leading a moral crusade against Caesar's business. The trail leads Friday and Streebek to a cult calling itself Pagan, People Against Goodness and Normalcy, and they focus on member Emil Muzz, who also works as Caesar's limousine driver. Muse. Emil Muse. That's a cipher right there. Under interrogation, Muzz reveals the time and place of a secret ceremony. Friday and Streebek sneak in disguised as members and witness a masked leader using several of the stolen items in a ritual leading up to a virgin sacrifice. The leader throws the victim, Connie Swale, referred to as, quote, the Virgin Connie Swale, into a pit of water with an anaconda. Friday and Streebek disrupt the ritual, saving Connie and subduing the snake, and report the incident to their boss, Captain Bill Gannon. However, when Gannon and the police commissioner, Jane Kirkpatrick, who is running for mayor, visit the site within the next day, no evidence of the ritual can be found, and Kirkpatrick removes Friday and Streebek from the case. Sorry, guys. Spoilers potentially here if you've never seen it. All right. But, it's a dumb comedy, so I don't know. How important is it? Streebek gets a tip on the whereabouts to a load of chemicals stolen by Pagan. They can be used to mass produce a toxic gas. Maybe like radon. He and Friday lead a SWAT team to raid the location, which proves to be an ordinary milk factory. The chemicals and gas-making equipment are actually hidden next door. With no further leads to follow, Strebeck tags along on a birthday dinner for Friday and his grandmother, and Connie soon joins them at Friday's invitation. During dinner, Connie identifies Worley at another table with Gannon and Kirkpatrick as the pagan leader. Friday attempts to arrest Worley, but Kirkpatrick overrules him and relieves him of his duty. Gannon takes Friday's badge and gun and orders Strebeck to stay away from Worley. As Friday takes Connie home, Muzz captures them and takes them to the Griffith Observatory. That's really bizarre, guys, because there's so many things that have been filmed there. Where Worley reveals to them his plan to kill Caesar at a reunion party for the bottles of bait. He has his men take Connie to his private jet and prepares to kill Friday, but Strebeck arrives just in time, having forced Muzz to reveal Friday's whereabouts at gunpoint. Strebeck infiltrates Caesar's mansion and disrupts the pagan plans to release the gas made from the stolen chemicals, and Friday leads a SWAT team raid. Worley sets fire to the stolen magazines and later escapes in the confusion. Gannon reinstates Friday and returns his badge so he can pursue Worley. It's a really, really bizarre movie. And the lines don't make a lot of linear sense a lot of times. It's one of those movies where the snappy one-liners, they're a slightly off resonance. Like they seem to have a whole nother purpose. And again, a lot of movies that came out in the 80s were written this way. And I used to always like find them funny, but it did always kind of strike me as a little weird. That they were off like that. And this was one of those movies that I watched like a lot growing up. Anything between 1985 to 1990, especially if it had popular comedic actors of that era, I was super into. Dan Akroyd. That's where I think this is kind of relevant, guys, is because, somebody actually, and I hope they don't mind because I'm not going to say who they are, but there's a person that I actually spent considerable time with that told me that they actually were in Vegas one time, and they were at a casino, and then out of nowhere, Dan Akroyd was like right behind them and gave them a shot of vodka and said, this is to you or something like that, or we're here for you, or this is to you or something like that. And she was kind of like, really? Or what? Or I can't remember how she described it to me, but that happened to her. And so that always kind of stayed and anchored in my mind because she really felt like it had more relevance, like he was passing a hint on to her or something like that. I got to tell you guys something. If there was ever a filmmaker or actor, writer that I think absolutely would have been able to be talked into doing films that would have timeline additions in them, which is to say that you could have convinced a guy like Dan Akroyd very, very easily to get involved with timeline manipulation within films. I have no doubt. Why? Take a look at his track record, guys. I mean, again, I could look him up, Dan Akroyd, on Wikipedia, and I bet you it'll show that he has considerable interest in the paranormal, and even did a television series, I think, in the 90s that was dedicated to paranormal themes. He was either the producer or the host, if I remember correctly. Hang on really quick here. Television. He did Saturday Night Live, then he did to the Sci Factor, Chronicles of the Paranormal. See, there you go, 1996 to 2000. So he actually did a series in Canada for 4 years. Sci Factor, Chronicles of the Paranormal is a Canadian science fiction drama television series, which filmed in and around Toronto, Ontario. Presented by Dan Akroyd. The series was hosted by Dan Akroyd, who presents dramatic stories inspired by the paranormal investigations of the Office of Scientific Investigation and Research, OSIR, Rizzo. That's interesting. If you read it backwards, it's Rizzo. Rizzo was the character that was in Grease. Grease is the time, is the place, is the motion. Now Grease is the way we are feeling. Anyways. The first season introduces members of the OSIR team, including case managers Connor Doyle and Curtis Rollins, senior data analyst, as well as various other investigators that rotate with each new case. The first season uses elements that are later dropped in subsequent seasons, most notably the 2 unlinked cases per episode. The first season features more of a documentary-style look, including handheld cameras and on-screen interviews with the experiencers, In the first season finale, Perestroika case manager Connor Doyle is killed in an explosion in an attempt to save the team and to kill a deadly parasite. This is kind of weird, guys. Oh my God, dude. Now I'm getting the I've never watched this, but check this out. And guys, if you know who this guy is, this is going to really freak you out. Starting with the second seasons, Paul Miller and Maurice Dean Wint are removed from the opening credits, and Matt Frewer joins the cast as the new case manager, Matt Prager. Michael Moriarty joins the cast in a reoccurring role of Michael Kelly, a conspiracy theorist who is friends with Prager. The series now focuses on one case per episode and is structured more like a 1-hour drama series. The second season features more character development as well as story arcs. All right, so I'm not going to get deep into this, guys, but the fact that he hired Matt Frewer, this really is trippy because you guys know who this guy is, right? That was Max Headroom. Sorry, guys. I thought I had my my screen up there. I didn't mean to do that to you. I thought you could read along with me. But yeah, Max Headroom. Matt Frewer's Max Headroom. And he's on, this is really weird, guys. If you knew what I was doing in the background, too, because I just watched, I knew that there was something involving Matt Frewer. This just happened to me, guys. There's these movies that I watched in repetition between 1985 to 1990, and one of them has Matt Frewer in them, and I just found it yesterday to watch. It's called Short Time. Almost nobody's ever, I never meet anybody who's seen this movie, but it has Dabney Coleman, Matt Frewer, and Terry Garr. And I saw it like 100 freaking times growing up, but I barely had a memory of it until recently. I don't know why I completely forgot about this movie, except that it just occurred to me over and over again that it's a little bit like Chevy Chase. Like I find him over and over again in movies that are relevant to timelines, like Dan Akroyd, always in these timeline movies. Spies Like Us, huge has timeline drops, huge time. Oh, guys, over and over again. John Landis films, timeline drops, tons of them. John Landis, Dan Akroyd, quite a few people from Saturday Night Live in general, from the early cast, absolutely. So what's going on with that exactly, or what agreements they had, I don't know, but it does seem to be something that's like pretty deep. Like this is something that I think that they've known about for a long time, and they're waiting to see like some of the results of it. How would you know, guys? It's like say somebody told you back in 1980 that you need to add this to your script, make a movie where these lines are in it for just some strange reason, and that it's all because in the future that somebody's going to be synchronizing with it because the information came from the future. So the whole point of what you were doing back in the 80s and adding these things to the films was proving out this experiment. And here we are in 2020 and 2021, and now you're seeing the results of the experiment. It'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? I think that there's something like that is going on right now, which is part of the reason why we're experiencing so much tragedy and drama right now. I mean, I think really a lot of the reason why this project happened relative to Stargate and timelines, and why a lot of Hollywood was involved with the adding things to films, was because it was about making sure that when something did happen, that there was all the information in place to communicate things. It was a pretty masterful plan. I wish I could whiteboard it, like all the ways that certain films connect to give information relative to what's going on. And again, I think the films were used to actually plan some of the bad things too. That's the irony in this. Hollywood films were used to both plan things that were like a broadcast of an email. Like if you ever wanted to like give somebody a map to how to install something like a network, you could just make like a 2.5-hour movie filled with metaphors saying, okay, every time you see this activity, it equates to, in the movie, it equates to this other thing. That way you have all the terms memorized. These are just brain hacks. The movies acted like instruction manuals for some of the work that was really high level technical things in some cases. It's like I was explaining to people, Huey, Louie, and Dewey, they were Donald Duck's nephews, but they also communicated things involving, what do you want to say, like Huey was high enriched uranium, H-E-U, Huey. Okay, the way marker for Hugh, which is Huey. Okay, Louie, that's L-E-U, low enriched uranium, Louie. And then Dewey, D-E-W, directed energy weapon. All of these are energy concepts, uranium and directed energy weapons. And then when you have uranium-based directed energy weapons, now you're really into some sinister shit. I think that's what's giving a lot of people Parkinson's disease, quite frankly, is a uranium-based directed energy weapon that they can just simply entrain on a person, and it just magnetically vibrates their brain into going like into a repetitive cycle like this until their body just starts to shake autonomously or without whatever. And I think I'm pretty certain I know the origins of some of the thugs that do it to people because they're willing to do it to their own family. Hint. So yeah, this theory starred Dan Akroyd. I thought it was more of a straightforward, like, what do you want to call it? Alliance Atlantis Communications. That's interesting. All right. The point is, though, that Dan Akroyd does have a background in these types of things. You know, he was into this. And I remember seeing this television series, but I never really watched it much. But I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. He's into, paranormal things, Hotel Paranormal. That's weird. What's that? I've never even heard of that. Oh, there it is. He's doing it again, guys. I had no idea. Look at this. Terrifying true stories of those who have come face to face with otherworldly hotel guests. Actor Dan Akroyd narrates each episode featuring spine-tingling stories of paranormal encounters told from stays at hotels around the world. I had no idea, guys. Trippy. But I mean, even if you go back into his film catalog, guys, I mean, I can tell you, like, as far as films that I know have information in them that would be relevant to timelines, Blues Brothers, Neighbors, which also has Dabney. No. That's a different one. Never mind. No, hold on. Dr. Detroit, yeah. Trading Places, yes. Twilight Zone, kind of. Ghostbusters, definitely. I mean, guys, that's everything. I mean, what we're existing in right now is like some bizarre kind of if you think about it, within the film Ghostbusters, what does it involve? They have traps that involve pulling in ectoplasma, which traps a spirit. Well, I'm explaining to people that what bioplasma is it's kind of doing something nearly identical, but it does it with your plumbing, and it does it with uranium-based directed energy weapons, and it can just sit there and suck the life out of you like a vacuum. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. And that's consistent with a psychotronic generator, and that's consistent with, even though Ghostbusters is just a movie, it's not. I mean, there's clues in there relative to how a psychotronic generator works and what kind of events could occur if there were, orgone events. If somebody were harnessing orgone and orgone got released in that way into a large concentration or whatever, what kind of events could they conceive of? I mean, you really get into changing events and changing behavior and then changing physical reality. He was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in a quick cameo. That's pretty interesting. Spies Like Us, again, I mean, and look at some of the names that he uses for his characters. Austin Milbarge. Raymond Stantz. Great Outdoors has some clues in it. Again, that's a John Hughes movie. And talk about encoded, guys, right here. Nothing but trouble. Wow. This movie almost makes no linear sense. It's a very, very strange movie that is just filled with timeline information and clues. What really supports this, guys, is the fact that right now that I'm talking about it, number one, is weird. That I just told you that Chevy Chase is involved with Timeline movies. So is Dan Aykroyd. This one in particular, oh my God, dude. The reason why it's not very funny, I think, overall, is because there's so much information in it. It's almost like they had to put so much of that in it. They didn't know how to fit it into a linear plot and make it like super funny at the same time. So it just kind of becomes this movie that where you're like raising an eyebrow going, why does this movie exist? But it does in repetition have a lot of charm is all I can tell you. I mean, it's definitely funny, but it's in its absurdity. Some of the lines are just like so bizarre and so non-linear and make no sense at the time of it, especially the lines communicated by Taylor Negron. I mean, look at these characters. Ronaldo Skirinitsu. I mean, like, who even thinks of this shit? Well, I know who thought of it. It was Dan Aykroyd and his brother Peter. But no offense, guys, because it's actually a movie that I'm kind of entertained by. But it's lots of information, guys. This movie has like they find this secret room inside a mansion where you see like a Nazi rocket scientist was up there. Jimmy Hoffa, like Al Capone or something like that. Like they have all these different people's like bones like stored away up in their attic. And he's like some like judge of this town called Valkenvania that, you know, like whenever you know, like he gets a whole bunch of people that were like speeding all over his town and doing cocaine and getting drunk in front of the police officer. So they wind up sending them down like this conveyor belt where they crush their bones up and spit them into a fire. It's that kind of thing, guys. It's just this bizarre movie. And what made it even weirder was they kept on emphasizing 33 over and over again. Chevy Chase drives a 733i, as you see there. Diane catches a glimpse of Eldona's destroying Chris's 733i. In the beginning of the movie, she even says to him, she goes, wow, this is a really beautiful vintage 733i. Is it a 3.3 liter? It's just 33 over and over and over again in this movie. And then it really tripped me out because I've had this in my collection for a long time, and I've always been a Digital Underground fan going back years and years since they originally came out. I could even sound like the Underground, you know. I could do the Humpty Hump. As you guys know, I did that whole song the other day. It's real easy to do, so check it out. Push your limb to the side, your leg was broken, shaking and twitching like kind of like you was smoking. Sorry, I'm really bad at it right now. Crazy whack funky. People say you look like MC Hammer on crack, Humpty. That's all right, because I get things cooking. It's supposed to look like a fit or a convulsion. Anyone can play this game. This is my dance, y'all. Humpty Hump's my name. No two people will do it the same. You got it down. When you appear to be in pain, humping, funking, jumping, gig around, shaking your rump. When a doo-doo pump jump, once a step into the chump. When a doo-doo pump chump, once a step into the chump. Oh my God, that's such a tough line. When a doo-doo pump chump, once a step up to the... I did this the other day, damn it. It's only because I'm on camera and I'm thinking about it. When a doo-doo pump jump, wants to step up to the stump, tell him step up, I'm doing the hump. That was pretty good. Do you know how hard that is? You do it. When a doo-doo pump jump, want to step up to the stump, tell him step up, I'm doing the hump. Okay, that was good. All right, I'm happy now. I can move on. Now I want the whole original beginning, man. All right, stop what you're doing because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. I look funny. But y'all making money, see your world, I hope you're ready for me and I gather round. I'm a new fool in town and my sound's laid down by the underground. I drink about the Hennessy you got on your shelf, so just let me introduce myself. My name is Humpty, pronounced with the umpty. Yo, ladies, yo, how I like to bump thee. And all the rappers on the top 10, please allow me to bump thee. I'm stepping tall, y'all. And just like a Humpty Dumpty, you're gonna fall when his stereos bump me. I like to rhyme, I like me's funky, I'm spunky. I like my oatmeal lumpy, I'm sick with this. Straight gangsta Mac. But sometimes I get ridiculous. Eat up all the crackers in your licorice. Hey, yo, fat girl, come here, are you ticklish? Yeah, I called you fat. Look at me, I'm skinny. And doesn't stop me from getting busy, I'm a freak. I like the girls with the boom. I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom. I'm crazy. Allow me to amaze thee. You say muggy, but just don't faze me. I'm still getting in the girls' pants and even got my own dance. The Humpty dance is your chance. Do the hump. I did that too fast because I was just trying to get through it. It should be slower. All right. I had to redeem myself after I screwed up when some doo-doo pump jump wants to step into the stump till I'm step up and doing the hump. That's tough to do, though. Am I right? Nothing, man. You're a tough crowd. I thought I would get at least. Look, I'm soliciting now for compliments, and now you're making me embarrassed, and I really stop. All right. Anyways, guys, Nothing But Trouble's got a lot of information in it. I for whatever reason, I'm just telling you, man. You want some clues? Dragnet, Nothing But Trouble. Let's talk about Dragnet, though. This one thing's got really kind of weird for me with the Dragnet thing. I don't know why it's going so freaking slow here. Hang on, guys. Okay, so I said today, here's a screenshot from Dragnet. They're just being difficult to be a pain in the ass, man. I tell you what. I can actually hear the sound that's right now, guys. So those who are kind of keep an eye on my situation, that one's doing DEWs. There's no question. Is the patterning. So if you guys want to sweep. All right. Let's see here. My guess is probably Gordon right there, FedEx. All right. Screenshot from Dragnet 1987. So check this out, guys. This is when I started having like a little Twilight Zone moment. This is like a really brief scene where they're going through all this garbage of this guy Munz and or Moots, Emil Muse. Well, the people that I know that are connected to a operation on Muse Road, no bullshit, guys. It's Muse Road, and they found this inside the movie, inside the pocket or inside the garbage of a guy named Muzz, which is Muse, M-U-Z-Z, Muzz, Muse, same thing. Okay, now it tripped me out because I'm like, I know that prefix. That's not just any prefix. That's a prefix from a town that I actually lived in named Kennewick. I'm not joking, guys. I'm going to show you something here because I used to live there, and that's close to the Hanford Nuclear Reservation. Now I'm going to show you something here. I did a decrypt of that phone number. Now check this out. And I'm going to show you this in a second. I used to live in Kennewick. 509-586-7710 is a real phone number. It actually goes to somebody in Kennewick right now. As far as I know, I looked it up in a reverse directory search. It's a random person. They're not doing anything. So sorry to that person, but I'm not telling you to call them or anything. What I'm saying, though, is that why would this movie from 1987 be communicating a phone number when I already found other things inside the movie that were relevant to things that were going on? I thought that's really weird. It's not just that it's one thing. It's that out of everything else, why did they not make the movie the standard fake phone number like they always do? Why wasn't it 555-7710? Why did they decide to make it 586-7710? Why? What was the selection? What was the purpose? I'm not telling you this is why. I'm giving you some other interpretations of the number. So what you do is anytime you're dealing with numerology or anything with number symbol or anything with number letter, alphanumeric encryption, it's very easy to determine a lot of times. Like some of your most basic ciphers, especially with the groups that are doing these things, good and bad. The people that do a good job, the good things, they do this for benevolent reasons, okay? And all I'm telling you is I was told that part of Stargate Project is interpreting the layers of data from some of these things. That's all. And look, I can do it pretty good. And I think I actually know what they've been talking about. That's what I'm tripping out a little bit going, I don't think I'm just drawing correlations where they don't belong. And if I am, okay, it's just an idea, guys. It doesn't have to be this way. I don't have any verification that it's 100% like this. But I do know from living there, and you can look it up right now, 509586 as a prefix search, and you'll notice that it maps to Kennewick, Washington, and that's next to Hanford Nuclear Reservation in the Tri-Cities, Washington. Moreover, this number belongs to Emil Muzz. Okay, well, Kennewick is close to a winery where there's a Muse Road where that winery connects into the same area where the 586 prefix is. And that's the wineries that I've been reporting on, that I've been talking about, strange wineries in Eastern Washington. This is the prefix that you would find affiliated with many of them. No shit. Then on top of it, the number itself is a coded cipher because they do this a lot, guys. 5 and 8 is equal to 13. And then you notice the next two numbers is 6 and 7. 6 and 7 is equal to 13. 86, bridges them. That means high frequency. So it occurred to me that part of this ciphered number is, yes, that the problem originates at the Department of Energy back in Tri-Cities, Hanford, that their next phase that they're going to be using is extremely high frequency. 586 translates to EHF, and they're telling us who's doing it. It's the double 13 mob. 58 is 13, 67 is 13. This is a warning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a timeline warning. It's the mob. They're going to kill us. EHF is the next weapon. You know what that is, guys? Extremely high frequency. 30 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz. They're putting 77 gigahertz in cars. Look it up. I'll show it to you. Now watch this. .586 EHF. That's how it translates alphanumerically. They do this a lot in movies, guys, for good and bad reasons, whether it's malevolent or positive. Alphanumeric translations, 586, extremely high frequency, is the International Telecommunication Union designation for the band of radio frequencies in the electromagnetic spectrum between 30 to 300 gigahertz. It lies between the super high frequency band and the far infrared band, the lower part of which is the terahertz band. Radio waves in this band have wavelengths from 10 to 1 millimeter, so it is called the millimeter band, and radiation in this band is called millimeter waves. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last 2 or 3 years, I've done several articles on millimeter wave. That is in this frequency band. I did that. Sometimes abbreviated millimeter wave or millimeter wave, MM wave, sorry, or MMW. Millimeter length electromagnetic waves were first investigated by Indian physicist Jagadish Chandra Bose during 1894 to 1896 when he reached up to 60 gigahertz in his experiments. Compared to lower bands, radio waves in this band have high atmospheric attenuation. They are absorbed by the gases in the atmosphere. Therefore, they have a short range and can only be used for terrestrial communication for distances of about 1 kilometer. Absorption increases with frequency until at the top end of the band, the waves are attenuated to zero within a few meters. Absorption by humidity in the atmosphere is significant, except in desert environments. And attenuation by rain is a serious problem even over short distances. That means that these signals are pretty weak. They can't travel very far in their pencil beam focus, just to give you a quick whatever. The short wavelength allows modest size reuse distances than lower frequencies. The short wavelength, allows modest size antennas to have a small beam width, further increasing frequency reuse potential. They're used for military fire control radar, airport security scanners, and short-range wireless networks and scientific research. Oh, really? Here's the thing, guys. Look at this. In a major new application of millimeter waves, certain frequency ranges near the bottom of the band are being used in the newest generation of cell phone networks, 5G networks. The design of millimeter wave circuit and subsystems such as antennas, power amplifiers, mixers, and oscillators also presents severe challenges to engineers due to semiconductor and processor limitations. Okay, that's not the point. We don't have to get into the technicals of it. The point is, we have a timeline drop here. Information passed within a movie. 586, EHF. 5 equals E, 8 equals H, 6 equals F. EHF, extremely high frequency. 77 gigahertz. So 77 gigahertz is an antenna, guys. And I've been hit with this exact kind in a car. Guys, 77 gigahertz is what they use to zap people. Phased array. Cars can hive together, pull up next to you, and make your whole body shake. I've been trying to talk about it. It's hard to explain. Until it happens to you, you won't know. So what's a timeline drop and, what's a coincidence? I don't know. But let me tell you something. I know some people know what I am and what I'm here to do, and I'll just leave it at that. I'm a telecommunications engineer with a lot of experience, and so I don't review these things passively. I pay attention. I will look at every frame of a film when I'm watching it. I'm not watching it just purely because I think it's funny or some other shit. Some of these movies, guys, I have to watch in repetition to catch these things. I literally have to watch them several times so I can catch like all the minutia in between, because I usually just shut movies off in my mind and let them play in the background. I don't pay that close of attention to them overall unless I'm in a movie theater or there's something that requires, like they're artsy, then I'll pay attention to them. If there's something that requires my, more whatever. The point I'm trying to make, guys, is it's not just because it's a 586 number. I don't think it's that just because it says that I think that it's a timeline drop. There's so much within this film, the pagan rituals, the fact that they're sacrificing a virgin, that it involves corrupt law enforcement. It involves corrupt street gangs, partnering with corrupt law enforcement to sacrifice virgins. And they're all into like drugs and partnering together while they're hoodwinking everybody in the public into thinking that they're enemies when they're really just friends that have a common interest. Sacrifice culture, pagan sacrifice culture. And this is all compartmentalized into this, little 80s movie where they drop information like this in really subtle ways. What I would tell you to do is like, look at the script, like look at the screenplay. And then you're going to kind of go like, yeah, there's a lot of lines in this movie. Like, why did they write it like that? What was the purpose of that line? I mean, it's a funny joke, but they could have written that like 10 different ways. They could have been even funnier, maybe, again, I'm not criticizing it because it's actually a pretty funny movie, but there's things like that. And I think that they knew the mob was going to be doing some pretty malevolent things to us in this country, guys, is all I'm saying. Sorry, I needed my back adjuster here. Because the mob that's doing this is the double 13s, 2 13s, and this number has it. The next phase of their plan is extremely high frequency and millimeter wave, as far as I can tell, and I'll give you evidence to back that up. Everything these people do within the mafia is energy weapons. And since they're heavily at the this will send chills down your spine. Hey, look at this. Look where we are. Department of Energy, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Millimeter wave technology at a glance. The millimeter wave holographic technology, or millimeter wave, highlights Pacific Northwest National Laboratory's radar imaging and optics capabilities, which use non-harmful ultra-high frequency radio waves to penetrate clothing and non-metallic barriers to detect and identify concealed objects as well as obtain accurate body measurements. Hey guys, it's totally safe. It's non-harmful. Don't worry, but it's non-harmful, yet it can also detect body measurements. Why do you think they want this everywhere? Guys, this brought chills down my spine because you understand that this isn't just any place that I'm showing you. This is where my brother worked. In this exact department. National Security Directorate. He didn't just work anywhere. He works in Pacific Northwest National Laboratories National Security Directorate. And they're pushing what? Millimeter wave technology. Millimeter wave technology passes harmless electromagnetic waves over the human body, and the reflected signals are used to create a 3D image in a computer that looks much like a fuzzy photo negative. Yeah, guys, it's totally harmless, even though it's doing this to your body. It's an electromagnetic field doing this to your skull and your entire body. It's totally harmless. Don't worry. You can handle it. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It's just doing this to your body. Yeah, guys, you're frequency, vibration, and energy. So don't worry when frequency, vibration, energy are pulverizing your body just to detect what your body measurements are. It's totally safe. The roots of the technology date back to the... I'm Troy McClure. The early roots in aviation safety. The roots of the technology date back to the 1960s when researchers at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, operated by Battelle, pioneered the development of optical and acoustic holography, the foundation of the millimeter wave technology. In 1989, PNNL started working with the Federal Aviation Administration, performing feasibility studies, and the first patent was issued in 1995. Today, the next generation technology is actively being sought by PNNL. A technology transfer success. In 2003, millimeter wave holographic scanning technology was first licensed by Battelle and introduced by the SafeView Scout system for security applications. SafeView, a startup company that based its business plan on this innovative technology, is a good example of commercialization at its best through a nonprofit, Battelle. You know, while Battelle's becoming a nonprofit, you know who's paying their taxes? You. You're paying their taxes. Yeah, you. You're paying for these innovations. Yeah, you're paying to get pinged with millimeter wave. Boom, 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 boom. Don't worry though, guys. You can trust the Department of Energy's National Security Directorate and all the people at the National Surveillance, NSA and counterintelligence. And because I'm telling you guys, the people that I know from there are top notch, really honorable people that you can totally trust. You might notice a hint of sarcasm. SafeView, a startup company that based its business plan on this innovative technology, is a good example of commercialization at its best. Battelle, through PNNL, developed the technology. A company licensed it and contracted with the laboratory to develop a security system. L3 Communications acquired SafeView in 2006 and renamed the millimeter wave whole body imager ProVision. The technology has also been licensed to IntelliFit, the company focused to consumer measurement technologies for body measurement applications. What this means, guys, is these machines aren't just measuring like whether or not you have like a gun. It actually knows what your blood pressure is. It actually knows heart rate. It knows, how you're breathing, everything. It's got all of it. So it's doing some penetration into the electromagnetic layers of your physical body, and I would argue your biosphere, your biofield. This idea, guys, like if we don't start understanding that we have a biofield, and what this technology does is chip away at it, and that when you have things that chip away at your biofield, it chips away at your physical body. Meaning to say that the reason why directed energy weapons cooks a person is because it begins by cooking the biofield that you're not seeing. You have this radiant energy around you that those electromagnetic fields, when directed at your physical body, gets interrupted. And the more they get the metaphysical layers, the etheric layers of the biofield, which is a plasma layer externalizing from you, this electromagnetic signal is pulverizing it down, and it creates a hole in that. When you have a flare or a hole inside your biofield because of an electromagnetic disruption from a directed energy device or weapon, if you want to get more real with it, that's why they work. It starts by tearing down the electromagnetic aspect of what you are, the frequency vibration layer on the external, and then it cooks the internal. But it begins by doing it outside and then working its way in. But you don't get to see it. I promise you, though, if I were to show you a person in a like my BioWell camera, you could aim a directed energy weapon like this at a person, you know, and while I took a measurement, and it would be exponentially different while this technology was being used on them. So if this isn't harmful, then why would it affect their entire body electricity like I know it would? Can you imagine, guys, why certain people don't want, you know, me to have all the equipment that I have? Because there's people that are this close to me that are this vested in technology evolutions that I know are going to harm us and are going to harm you. And I think that there's data right now that supports it. And the people that are pushing this evolution, there's quite a few people in the wireless industry that don't want it. This is coming from places that are outside of the wireless industry. It's partnerships with these sort of deep state shadow labs that start going to the infrastructure manufacturers and saying like, push millimeter wave, push millimeter wave, push millimeter wave, push millimeter wave. Then pretty soon out of nowhere, everybody's like going, we've got 5G, let's have millimeter wave everywhere. And at first I'm thinking, I don't know about this. I really don't know. I can see some advantages to it not causing harm to people, but see the fact that it can pinpoint beam anybody and there's no way to trace it anywhere except unless you have specialized antennas. Like, how would you know it's being aimed at you until you feel it? Then what are you supposed to do about it? That's the problem. Its ability to do that is just, it's incredible. It can just entrain on a person and just chip away at their physical body all day. You could literally have one of these 5G antennas that's just aimed at one person straight in their head and nobody else around them would feel it. That's how precise this is. That's how much it can hit a person individually. If you don't believe me, let me show you something here, guys. Let's take a look at that slide again. What are they warning us about here? They're telling us EHF, extremely high frequency, that it's coming from Hanford, Kennewick, Tri-Cities. PNNL, that's where that is. That lab I just showed you that's making extremely high frequency millimeter wave, that's where they're at, Hanford, Tri-Cities. 586 is one of the prefixes that's next to the lab that's doing everything I just showed you. Now, it's extremely high frequency, 30 to 300 gigahertz. Now let's take a look at what else that is. Have you guys heard of the active denial system? Again, guys, I'm not faulting anybody for making things like this because there's a need to have non-lethal directed energy weapons. I understand that. So again, I'm not the guy that's running around saying, boo, you're all bad people for making one. Although I did notice that a certain group, it's strange. Somebody was helping me for a little while, and I noticed that every time they would put me next to someplace, I was always next to Raytheon, which made me wonder to that person that was doing that. Why'd you put me next to Raytheon all the time? That was a long time ago, guys. It was just bizarre. But the active denial system, look how it operates. The ADS works by firing a high-powered 100 kilowatt output power beam of 95 gigahertz waves at a target, which corresponds to a wavelength of 3.2 millimeter. The ADS millimeter wave energy works on a similar principle on a microwave oven, exciting water and fat molecules in the skin and instantly heating them via dielectric heating. One significant difference is that a microwave oven uses the much lower frequency and longer wavelength of 2.45 gigahertz. The short millimeter waves used in ADS only penetrate the top layers of skin, with most of the energy being absorbed within 0.4 millimeters, whereas microwaves will penetrate into human tissue about 17 millimeters. The ADS's effect of repelling humans occurs at slightly higher than 44 centigrade, 111 degrees Fahrenheit, though first degrees of burns occur at about 51 or 124 degrees Fahrenheit, and second degree burns at about 136 degrees Fahrenheit. In testing, pea-sized blisters have been observed in less than 0.1% of ADS exposures, indicating that second degree surface burns have been caused by the device. All right, guys, that's all well and good, you know, and again, when it's for crowd control, cool, whatever, right? If you have limited means for it and sometimes there's an emergency that may justify this, I understand. But people still need to know that about what it is and what frequencies it exists on because of the malicious use of these types of frequencies. For example, now that I've identified that a whole bunch of people do this, all somebody has to do now then, if they're crafty enough, is know where I'm at and then aim one of these antennas inside my window and just cook me indefinitely. And then if the FBI goes, are you one of those Alex Jones peoples that thinks that there's such a thing as directed energy weapons? You know, they kind of say shit like that to you guys. I'm sorry, but it's true. And then they just don't help you because they'll act like you deserve it. While the cartels that they themselves bring in as informants, as their hired staff, do it to you with the DEW. Right, FBI? You're really not doing a damn bit of law enforcement. You're just managing cartels and gangs. So that just makes me ask the gangs and cartels, are you satisfied knowing you got some punk asses that are all basically Leos as your bosses? Because that's what's happening. You don't have organic grassroots leaders accepted in front of you. Those are your real leaders, the people that they stuck in front of you to fool you. And even those people are getting tricked by the larger narratives. So find your inner power. I'm just saying that to everybody out of respect. Like, abandon these narratives and everything, because whoever they're telling you your boss is not. And America should know this too. Fire these people that are claiming to be your bosses. It's like somebody straight up walked into a company that kind of belongs to you and everybody else and said, like, I'm running this shit. I don't know what I'm doing, and I think I'm going to steer it straight into a brick wall, but whatever. And everybody's like, okay. I wasn't bold enough to do that, and they were, so I guess we just have to acquiesce. No, you don't. And please, folks, it's May 1st now, but since it's only going to be 2 months now, and we're going to be into July, do not let these people tell you you can't celebrate 4th of July. Don't get all rebellious and start acting a fool, but politely, kindly, and with it, the true American grit and spirit, get out there and celebrate. And don't let them tell you you can't. You do it like you normally would do it with all your friends and family, and you believe in America that day especially. On no other day would I say, everybody make sure to now focus on it. Start getting ready for it. Because this is the new Independence Day. This is us reminding ourselves of why this country was founded, what we were fighting, because we're fighting a new form of it today. It's now, the new enemy is no longer like the British church that we're evading or whatever it was, you know, colonialism and the church. It's different now. What we're trying to evade now is a completely different beast, but it's every bit as relevant, and it has even more control over us than the Queen of England did. And it's right here in our backyard, and it's partnering with a foreign government. And it's doing some things to us to completely reverse our perceptions of reality. All right? So this is really the time, folks, to just sort of set it all aside and just start to figure out that we've got some issues we got to deal with together. And, you know, we can get there. I yesterday, what I was trying to do is just make appeals to people to say, like, you know, I'm not that much different than the people that really did care about these social issues. And I do. To think, you know, guys, it's not like I stopped caring. It's not like I said, it's just that I started seeing how many times these narratives have been falsified. When it happens, yeah, I'm right there for you. I will fight the good fight every single time. Ask anybody. I don't just kiss the ass of the man and sit down and go like, oh, well, it's okay to treat them that way? Okay. Well, you said so when you're the manager. I guess that's the opinion I have to take. No, if I saw somebody doing something wrong, I said, oh, okay, so you as the manager, I've highlighted this to you and I brought you all the facts, and you're telling me that you're not going to change your behavior and you're going to continue to treat these people this way. Is that correct? And if their answer was more or less yes, then I'll say, all right, then I'm just going to tell you, politely here that I'm taking it to the next level. All due respect. Because I'm not happy with the answer I'm getting here. And then I would do it. In some cases, I went to the manager and then I went to the director, and the director did nothing. And then the director said, I was trying to go, who do I go to now? I wind up with a VP of the group, the vice president of the entire region. Then I wind up with the vice president of the entire, engineering operations organization, and in a meeting with them. I mean, that's the kind of things that I've done in my past. And I was just an engineer. I was just a person that had the title associate engineer. I was making like 50 grand a year. And I was willing to risk my job and, my career when I thought that people were being mistreated. And a lot of people that I knew were wired that way. I know there's good people that don't want to see these technology evolutions put out there because they're starting to see what it's all going to amount to. They just don't know what to do, you guys. What if you were them? What if you worked at a company that was doing this, and even the company itself that you're working at doesn't have a lot of say in it? And that's the truth. I can empathize with my peers from the past because I know what they must be dealing with right now. I'm almost lucky to be outside and not in there. Because right now, they're having to come to terms with some moral decisions right now, is my guess, that they've kind of caught on to what's going on. And they know that it's not as, because even I would have been in denial for at least a couple of years, like they wouldn't do this. It's not for that. But then you start looking deeper into it, you're like, I think they are going to be doing this. I think what this will translate to is a lot of miniature active denial systems with amplitudes of power that aren't quite as severe, but can definitely create spasms, tasing sensations. I know because I've experienced it, guys. They can do some type of phased array 77 gigahertz between cars and make you just get tased. It's kind of it's not like a really strong one. It's more like you're kind of going like this, or it can make you can physically see your skin actually twitching while they're doing it. I mean, it's a gun that makes your muscles spasms. They can hit you in different centers, like in the back of your head, where those muscle groups affect all the other muscle groups, and that'll cause some severe twitches, Yeah, exposed lights. I said that. I've been saying that. I did a nearly 2-hour presentation on this exact thing when I was saying, you guys, Elon Musk is a big ruse on your perceptions. I know he's cool, guys. I'd probably party with the guy too. I'd be like, hey, Elon Musk, you seem like a nice guy. Why did they select you to be such a bullshit artist? It's not your fault. I think they make it sound pretty cool. Hey, dude, we're going to do all kinds of cool things, man. We're going to do pioneering drilling companies. We're going to go to space, and we're going to have electric cars. And we want you to be the guy that just makes it all really freaking cool. You want the job? You don't have to really do much, man. Just date musicians and have their babies and, go on Joe Rogan and, show up to some investor meetings and pretend that you belong there, and it'll all be good. Just make decisions for us. But everybody believes the lore. That's all right. But ask yourself, this room, a lot of times people get offended. They'll be like, no, he's on the good side. He's a good guy. I mean, he might be, but I'm telling you that he is a buffer. He might be a buffer that said, I don't like being a buffer for these people anymore. I think I'm going to do this badly. Maybe that's what he's doing. I don't know. I mean, it occurred to me that Elon Musk might be doing that. That he might have been like a Jeff Bezos that was like, sure, I'll be a billionaire if you let me be the fake leader, founder of Amazon. Why not? Because he's a character. I mean, who would say no to that? All you're doing is punching, into decisions for another group of people. There's like several people behind you. They're like, we don't want to be seen ever. We want you to be our lightning rod. And we'll always make sure that you get out of every situation. You don't have to worry about anything. I mean, if the person's basically lawless because they get mob support and they're just there to be, a validation layer. See, these people, they're all still going to make money. This is all about steering the company in the way that they want to. They'll own the company through hedge funds and, like Blackstone, BlackRock, those types of funds, large investment firms that manage like trillions of wealth, that kind of thing. But yeah, what I was trying to say to folks is that the 77 gigahertz is going to be the assassination way. Self-driving cars, electric cars. Dude, self-driving is a dumb decision, man. I don't care how good they make it. I wouldn't even come near any self-driving things until they find a completely different way to do it that does not involve a jammable wireless interface. Until they do that, it is, to me, about the most worthless freaking thing that ever existed. All somebody's got to do is pull up next to your Tesla car and go, and on that signal, jam. Use a ham radio cycle, high power ham radio amplifier. These people know what to do, guys. It's just a matter of modulating the signal. They tune in the signal, they dial it on a digital, like ham radio, like high power amplifier that is a wideband and can do more than ham, is all I'm saying. Like some big wideband amplifier, channel tuner. They install them in their cars. I've seen these guys. I mean, they sometimes put their material on YouTube and they just drive around doing ham hunting in Portland. And that's what that really piqued my curiosity, is I noticed a lot of these ham radio operators have like a secret club, and it's more than just like some Crime Stoppers, or it's not that. It's something that I think is criminal that some of the hams are doing, and that it supports trafficking organizations, and that electronic weapons are a big component of it. Because, again, guys, anything you use for communication, you can also use to cook. You see that article about ADS, 2.45 megahertz, like this. Look at this. It even says it right here. One significant difference is that a microwave oven uses a much lower frequency and longer wavelength of 2.45 gigahertz. Well, think about what I just said to you. 2.45 gigahertz is pretty close to what Wi-Fi operates on, 2.4 gigahertz. It's a 2.4 gigahertz band. So what you use for Wi-Fi is also literally used to heat up and cook tissue, body tissue, meat. If it's chicken inside your microwave, great. But if it's an asshole parked across the street with a high power directionalized energy beam, then that shit's going into you. And guess what our problem is right now, ladies and gentlemen? Pedophiles and human traffickers, this is their favorite go-to method. So once you give this same technocracy that are also pedophiles access to a huge electronic weapons grid, which 5G will inevitably become if these assholes get a hold of it. If they don't, then great, guys. It'll just be a really good communication add-on, I guess, if that's what you want to promote it as. I just don't think it's going to go that way. I have a strong fear, let me put it this way, guys, that if we don't at least call attention to this as a possibility, it's going to embolden certain people to go like, these people are idiots. We can just put this out there and just start going bam, 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 bam on anybody we want. It'll be that easy, guys, because these aren't normal antennas. They can pinpoint focus. If you're at the subway station, all right, and you want the signal, it won't hit the person a foot to your right, and it won't hit the person a foot to your left. It's going to hit just you. So that gives a degree of directionalization that no previous iteration of wireless mobile phone technology had. That's what I'm explaining to you. I'm the guy that designed that shit. It was ultra high frequency. 850 megahertz bands does not do what this does. A 1.9 gigahertz PCS band does not do what this does. The AWS 1.7, 2.1 gigahertz band did not do what this does. The ADS, it doesn't. What's the other one? 850 1.9 AWS. I'm missing another one. AWS 850 PCS. Why am I? There's a fourth one that I'm missing. It's so obvious too. It's so obvious. Anyways, guys, I'm not a big 5G conspiracist in the classic sense. What I'm telling folks is that there are people in the wireless industry that are concerned. They themselves are saying, we don't like the potential for this. At first, guys, they're just like me. They're thinking this is all about communications. Nobody would do this to a customer. That's dumb. Unless one of the services your company begins to sell is weaponization. And if we're getting into an era where somebody just wants to have electronic prisons, then 5G is what's going to make that a reality. Everywhere you go, they can just give you an electronic choke collar on your ass. Hit you in the throat. I mean, guys, that's what these things can do. They're so pencil beam focused that while you're sitting there in a subway, a smart grid antenna that has no reason to be aimed at you can just go, hey, I know that asshole. Facial recognition. Aim for the neck. And then pretty soon, you just start choking and coughing out of nowhere, having no clue why it's happening. And you know why it's happening? Because this little beam antenna is going for one of these nerve endings that tickles the gag reflex inside your throat. And they love doing this, guys. This is how occulted they are. 77 gigahertz aims at your throat and makes you gag. So 77 is the letter G. So 77 is GG. So a gag, 77 gags you with a 77 gigahertz, which translates to GG, which spells the word gag. Funny, isn't it? But, you know, guys, once you know the people that think this shit up and where they all lead back to, and that really when you get down to it, that just leads back to what? What does Department of Energy lead back to, guys? I don't care what anybody says. This is what it leads back to. It leads back to these freaking monkeys right here. Nazis. It's always going to lead back to these Nazis that are like going, trust us. What could go wrong? Well, I'll tell you what could go wrong. Everything these assholes touch goes wrong. And it's been going wrong for decades. The space race, the Cold War, missile defense. You understand, guys? All this has done is basically been a hiding ground for Operation Paperclip Nazis to continue declaring war on the rest of the world by tricking us as the citizens into letting them do whatever the fuck they want to the rest of the world. And then we don't even understand why people don't like us sometimes. And it's because these freaking monkeys are always in charge of things. And we keep going like, yeah, but, you know, I don't really want to do that. Yeah. But that's it, guys. U.S. Department of Energy. I mean, guys, this is what it says. Guys, look at this. I mean, I'm not making this up. It says National Security Directorate. National Security Directorate in Richland, Washington. In Richland, Washington is working on millimeter wave. This exact thing I'm telling you about. That does make me wonder if my brother's still there. Yep. I'm not going to say who, but I've got a relative there. You understand how this works, though? There's real people, and then there's fake people. Now, I'm not going to say who's real and who's fake, but, you know, sometimes there's the person who's the real one, and they've got their mirror. And they might have a common first name, and then this person doesn't, and then that person's just another. Anyways. I didn't do that, guys. I just got dumped. It makes it look like I did it to myself, but I didn't. All right. God. But guys, I mean, look at who's doing nationals in the National Security Directorate. Look at the positions that are here. Guys, you ever notice that it's only like at the Department of Energy that you find these bizarre last names that you just don't seem to? I promise you guys, you only find these last names at Department of Energy, Science Applications International Corporation, or anybody that has significant influence. Perry area, Ardall, Runkle, Fryer, Linnaeus, Hatch. You know, like for an underground silo, you get in with a hatch. Krishna Swami and Treadway. Anyways. Hey, you know, maybe these are all people. I don't know. My guess, though, is that's probably connected to Alan Harper because Homeboy has a connection to 2.5 Men and John Cryer, and John Cryer played Alan Harper. And Alan Harper, oh, God, dude, you know, Harp. It means a local area network, active array, you know, HARP. It's just, you know, local, though. It's like a small scale one. Harp, Alan Harper. That was John Cryer's character. And again, Harper's a regular name, guys. I'm not telling you that's all that weird. But I've noticed that they'll use harp pair. It means pair the person with a harp device, which is extremely low frequency entrainment. Not always, and I'm not saying what that person is doing is that, but tomb, sometimes that's a case. Tomb and then mayhem, MH means mayhem, tomb, mayhem, harp pair. They pair you with the harp device. That's electronic weapons. Pair, Parnell, pair. I don't know. Pair. That's all right, though. It doesn't mean that that's what it is. Could be not. I'm just saying that when it comes to this particular person in my family, my level of trust is about, let me see here. It's about that thick. That's about how much I trust them, about that thickness. That's about the thickness of my trust. See that? It's like that gaping amount of trust. That's how much trust I have. Because I shared a bunk bed with somebody who worked here. That's all. I shared a bunk bed with them until I was about 15 years old. So certain people, I definitely know their character, which is why I have zero trust in Pacific Northwest National Laboratory or any of these things is legit. That's an opinion. Yeah, because like this is one of the projects that's connected to the Department of Energy, and that's all underground tunnels, guys. And so all I'm trying to explain to folks is that, you know, a big part of this is uranium mining, underground facilities, how the Department of Energy has control over all these things, and what they do with excess uranium, who has access to gray market uranium, who has access to black market uranium. And I tried reporting this to my family. I actually have Department of Energy relatives, like you just saw, where I sent them messages saying, dude, there are people, I'm just gonna be straight up with you guys. This is, and I have documented evidence that I've done this. And I told people on the outside I did it with purpose. I sent my complaints to people that are close to me. My brother has that very high level position there at the NSD saying, I know things about abuses of directed energy weapons. I know things about human trafficking networks and pedophilia and child pornography networks relevant to who's controlling those directed energy weapons. And I would like some help, working through this. And the answer I got from this person that worked at the National Security Directorate was, you make up a lot of things in your mind, and I know mom and dad love you, and fucking weasel. Anyways, just a lot of bullshit, and said, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see the connections. I don't see it, guys. These people can have direct confessions from a pedophile, and they'll still go, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. They're experts at not seeing shit. They're experts at not acknowledging the obvious. So don't wait for them to acknowledge what you're telling them. They won't do it. They know you're waiting for them to do it. They will never do it. Understand this. Denying you of the obvious is a huge part of the energy loop they've got on everybody. You know what they are, you know what they're doing, and you know where they're doing it and how they're doing it. It's the uranium that they get from milling this tunnel connected to Yucca Mountain. All the uranium that's acquired from making this facility, where does it go? Well, some people use it by driving around and aiming shit at people. They use radon gas as a weapon. They use uranium weapons as directed energy, and give people Parkinson's disease. Now, that should definitely offend people close to me, because I had a family member that died of Parkinson's disease and cancer simultaneously. That's not before he had, Parkinson's for like a decade. Do you know what that's like? I mean, I don't, except I felt the symptoms. It's fucked up. Guys, they've sent me the Parkinson's frequency. They've made me feel it. They've made it to where my body goes like this. And I'll find myself when I was in Estacada at Mommy and Daddy Dearest's, former Department of Energy dad. I'm inside his spare room and my body's going like this. And so I was developing different ways of pushing off the signal. But I measured all of it, and I don't want to hear shit from those people telling me it wasn't happening. I have proof. Hell, I bet you I could find it here if I look. Okay, I'm being shocked really bad right now. It's September 7th, 2019. Just kind of want to show you what's going on here. Now, just to put it in perspective here, folks, now I have it set with the decimal point on right now, but anything above single digits is too high, okay? 50 would be extreme. Oh, yeah. All the door locks are heavily magnetized and radiate energy. That's about 3 times as strong as extremely. That's like, that would cause a person sleep disturbances if it was at 50. And when you put the meter up against the one painting that was, and I would always hear somebody make sounds against that painting before I went to sleep. It's almost like they knew to tune it. And then these floor tiles, that's the floors you see there are called purgo, like purgatory. Now, again, these aren't very strong signals overall. It was actually pretty weak that day comparative. But you always had E fields that should be at 0. These should be next to nothing is my point. Even though that's not very strong there, they should be 0 or 0.0 something or whatever. And there was always an E field everywhere in that room, always. And the fact that most of the time you put it next to any of these walls or close to any of these walls, it got to be 50 volts per meter plus is pretty significant. And see how the floor tiles light up like a Christmas tree. See that? It was about 26, 28. And so I have a bunch of different ones that I did like that. That's not even one of the worst ones. That was actually a pretty tame set of footage. But I've taken measurements like that in multiple properties, and that actually was kind of a lighter sensation. One of the other ones that I have footage of, I can show you where I have triple digit volts per meter constantly. So it's bad enough when it kind of teeters like close to 100 volts per meter. That's agitating. That's enough to make you go like, oh, I feel really uncomfortable. Oh, I just feel like my whole body's tense. Okay, when it's hundreds of volts per meter, it's just like, oh shit. You just want to jump out of your skin, but you're kind of like stuck. Like you want to leave, but you're stuck. It's the most messed up thing. It's like it's this artificial grounding where your body just kind of remains static and you just take it. I don't know how to explain it, you guys, but whoever does it knows exactly what they're doing. And who else would know what they're doing but people with a sophisticated knowledge of energy concepts and how to integrate something like a shock floor into the infrastructure. Who would be that kind of person who would have the ability to make a shock floor using energy infrastructure? I don't know. I guess it would help to know some people who were at the Department of Energy and could perform those kind of hacks. Maybe somebody who was an electrical engineer and has, I don't know, a nuclear radiation symbol tattooed on his fucking leg, along with a skull and bones tattoo. Gee, maybe somebody like that. Maybe somebody who kind of brags that they radiate people's legs by symbolically placing the tattoos in the regions where they target those people to give them bone cancer. Kind of like what happened to my great uncle Moises. Oh, I'm such an innocent guy. Fucking weasel. I'm not impersonating anybody in particular, just saying. Got a grandmother that had what? Throat cancer. You think it might have been a 77 gigahertz weapon? You think maybe somebody who knows who our bloodline is might have been giving us some clues, guys? I know they are, guys. I'm sorry it was done through something weird like a Hollywood film. I'm sorry it's being done through some strange Project Stargate programs that my own brother was close to the lab that ran those projects. But you understand that the real Project Stargate involves people that they're concealing. The real Project Stargate actually had actual tangible evidence and facts associated with that would help the US military right now if you were to partner with me directly and I could be walking you through all these things. Whereas they're going to lie to you over and over again and steer this country into a shithole. I have proven myself over and over again. And anybody who wants to keep trying to pass a false narrative on me in favor of that fucking goon, especially if your last name is Cruz, think again. You're going to look bad, not me. You. So wise up. What, you think he's a Don? Is that what it is, guys? Is this why Gabe is being treated like shit, even though I was like the golden boy for the longest time? Is Joaquin a Don? Is that what's happening? I'm asking the question. I'm not making an accusation. Is he a Don? Is this why my voice is never heard? Don of what? I don't know. Dos Equis. He's the most interesting man alive. That's all I mean. Except he's not. He's kind of a weasel. Who technically is 3 points dumber than me, just so you know. We took the same test. I don't have the brilliance of education, though, so that's touche. You guys, I confess, I'm not a real engineer. I didn't go to college and get a degree. I'm so ashamed. I don't care. Do I know what I'm doing? Do I know what I'm talking about? That's the point. I got the work experience, guys. I spent 20 years in wireless. I know how wireless machines work top down, including the human machine now. For a while, I knew all about cell towers. Now I know how the human machine does the same thing. With radio frequencies, I know about the biofield and see what these people are doing. Guys, now that I know, it was one thing when my brother was close to it when before at SAIC. Now he's like going, Gabe, I know what you're talking about. Blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, cool, dude. Whatever. You live, you do you. You live your life, I'll live mine. But now I find you at the National Security Directorate and you're the same people. Like, okay, remember the other time it was psychic research. It was Project Stargate that you were close to at SAIC. And then it was all the phone numbers being bought, all the internet routes being bought while you were at SAIC between 1993 to 1999 is when you were there, dude. And that's when all this happened. Stargate, 1995, your company. All the ownership of the phone numbers, that was 1994, your company. All the internet routes, internet solutions, 1994, your company. Now, 5G, millimeter wave, active denial systems targeting innocent civilians, your company. What the fuck, dude? You're always there. But I guess I'm the problem, right, Power Family? You're going to go looking at Gabe. Do you know, guys, if your name is Cruz out there and you look like me and you're still saying that I'm the problem, you're going to look like a colossal asshole pretty soon. I'm saying that with love. Don't go there, please. I know, guys, I spent too much time with some of you, man. I you know, a lot of you. I know you're not all like this. So please don't be like this. Don't just buy into it because one person is better at controlling the narrative and just looks a little bit neater and's got more money. Ask yourself how they got that. Ask yourself how they got their privilege and power. Was it all hard work or was there a little bit of cronyism? Was there a little bit of daddy doing favors? Because I got news for you. My dad didn't work at US Cellular. Here you go, Gabe. Would you like to be an engineer? But you can look in the mirror and think of yourself as like totally legit. That's okay. That's fine. I get it. I mean, any of them. Why have a nuclear radiation symbol and a skull and bones tattoo? Where I know that people are actually getting targeted. They're having their legs radiated. My uncle Moises, you want to talk about sad? I know that was a proud man. Let me tell you something. He's my great uncle. Okay, he wasn't my direct one. He's like 2 generations up. My father's uncle, technically. But I know he was a pretty proud dude. And he was once a pretty bunch of badass as far as like he was a strong dude and he was a serious dude, but a nice guy. And I didn't know him very well, but I met him late in his life, right after his wife passed away. And he really missed her. But seeing this proud man drag himself on the ground, his legs were, I mean, his bones were like jello. They were turning brittle. Not jello, but they were just turning into powder. And there he was, I mean, you know, still kicking and everything like that and trying to talk to us and being warm to us and being, you know, accommodating. But you know what it's like to watch a man drag his legs? And just to like, in what it's doing to you internally to see him have to process it because he's proud. Look at me, dude. I want you to see integrity because I don't think you know what it looks like when you look in the mirror. Pretty soon, everyone's going to know that this is what integrity is. You can say what the hell you want to about me, but you know what? I stand behind what I say and I do. And I help people, even if it doesn't benefit me. Probably to my demise oftentimes, so I've had to stop doing that as much, sadly. Because people like you love to just send me messages to see what you get when you try to help. You send your little actors into my life, all your little crisis actors. Stop. Stop, 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 stop. Everybody knows where it all leads back to now, man. Everybody knows. So, I mean, it's just I'm just saying, dude, if you're in my family, why are you going that direction? This is just about being human. Do old ladies deserve to have a 77 gigahertz antenna and trained on their throat? Because, see, that's the kind of plausibly deniable thing that anybody can get away with. Well, she was old anyways. She was old, Gabe. She was old. Really? It's not lost on me that my grandmother died on February 26th. Because you know what 13 times 2 is? 26. Want to take a look at that thing again? Because you know what I was told about 3 years ago? That my grandmother was killed with a 77 gigahertz antenna. And that it was an inside job. And maybe the people that made this knew something about that. That's all I'm saying. And maybe they knew where it led back to. It led back to Hanford, Kennewick, Washington, Tri-Cities. She was killed with an extremely high frequency weapon at 77 gigahertz. And who killed her? The 1313 Mafia. It was an inside job because 13 plus 13 is 26. And she died on February 26th. Always the numerology, man. May as well push her over the edge so you get your double 13s, huh? Your two 13s. Because I guess she served her purpose in producing the offspring. And since you can get a certain number of them on board with the agenda, I guess the master work is done. She's effectively gagged with EHF. EHF gag by the 1313 mob. With direct energy weapons that came from where? 586, Kennewick, Hanford, Tri-Cities. See, I actually cared about my grandma. You can say what you want to about me. I'm asking where the hell you guys are. Do you honestly believe a woman that never smoked in her life died of throat cancer? Why not some other kind of cancer? Why was it throat? Well, because they could park something across the street from her. It had a pencil beam focus, literally about the size of my finger, aimed on her throat. So while she sat there watching the news in her favorite chair, all somebody had to do was just aim this thing on her, and slowly over time, she just starts going. I know because I saw it happening. We just all thought it was something that was naturally occurring somehow. And I was given this tip about 3 or 4 years ago, but I didn't know what to do with it. And I was told that it was an inside job. And that the person that did it got help from somebody that was a microwave engineer to aim it at her head. Where do I go with this information if my own family doesn't give a shit? And the FBI doesn't care about turning in anything? What do we do, folks? See, because this was about my own family, and I asked my family for help. I guess everybody's kind of like, it's happening to me too. So you know. Look, guys, every aspect of your physical body will be manipulatable, because I'm telling you, like right here, this part of your head, everything connects all the way down. I mean, all the way down, guys, your body. There's like a common set of nerves that are all there. And when you hit that side of your head with an EHF antenna right in here, it's muscle twitches. It can make your shoulders twitch, your arms twitch, your legs twitch. You get little twitches on the inside of your belly. It just causes all kinds of electrical sensations that make your body twitch. And then over time, yeah, it's destructures your water cells. It's killing you slowly. But if a person stays static and watches the news all day long, like my grandma did, yeah, you can just aim it at her and she's just going to start choking over time. And then because the effect is it's just cooking her throat. So she's just drying out. And that's what she used to have to do, is suck on ice chips. She always had a cup of ice chips because it would always be dry. EHF. She was literally being microwaved with a fucking antenna. Try to tell these people this, though. Nope, not going to listen. Nobody's interested in finding out more about that. No, don't want to know more. Guess not, huh, Cruises? You're okay with it all? Just thought I'd ask. Still don't want to email me, even though all my details are over there in that description section. And I know a lot of you got my phone number. That's all right, though, guys. It's okay. Phone number hasn't changed in like a decade. Just thought I'd let you know. You got it. You're onto something there, Exposed Lights. You actually know some of the ciphers, but not all those are always used for bad reasons. So some of them are, though. Yeah, because of the servers, BlackBerry Enterprise servers, they used to call them good. So a person that sells BlackBerry Enterprise servers a lot of times will use the name Good Man or Goodin or Goods or Goody, because that's a way to communicate that their smartphone can do encryption over BlackBerry as a non-BlackBerry device. That's what good is a cipher for, just in case you're wondering. And yeah, those deep staters at the CIA, yeah, because the CIA, one of the pathways for that technology was that $600 million contract at Amazon for the cloud computing, and that's become part of their cloud trafficking thing that the CIA is basically running. So, oh, Corey Good, let's not even go there, dude. That's another lab creation. That's Gaia lab creation garbage. Yeah. That should go without saying by now, guys, but I'm about to ready to wind down, though, so let's not add more to the pile. Unless you guys, I'll go for another half hour if you guys are still interested in this topic. I don't mind, but I was going to wind down, but I don't mind going for a little bit if you want. If you guys say so in the next 20 seconds or whatever, I'll keep going for a little bit longer on this topic, because I have more I could say on it, but I'm worried that I'm kind of going into things that are a little bit almost, to bloodline family things. So, let me see if I got all my topics done, though. Yeah, I mean, I did basically. I covered everything tonight that I said I was going to. So I don't know, guys. Yeah, I don't mind going for another half hour. What the hell? Yeah, I should actually, because I don't feel like I want to stop right now. And if I don't, then I always feel a little weird after I stop. When I don't feel entirely ready to. Sometimes, though, like I'm kind of like going, all right, I need to wind this down in a few minutes here, and so I start to do that. But this time was one of those things where I'm kind of like, no. All right. So after I kind of like saw what happened to my uncle Moises and my grandma Sarah, and then I got some tips about my grandma Sarah, and then my uncle Joe Jose, he had pretty severe Parkinson's. And the last time I really got to see him, like, and spend time with him was the end of 2015. And it was Christmas time. And that's when I was still on speaking terms with most of my family. And I just experienced this codex It was the strangest, most mystical experience I've ever had, guys, but it's a real thing. This is why I know this set me on a path to prove everything that I'm talking about, guys, because I don't just believe shit that people say on the internet. And if I experience something, I question it. Seriously, I will first go, maybe I had something going on that day. Maybe I was stressed and my brain created this. Let me find all the ways that could have been a reality that way. I'm sure I'm not going through this. See, I go for that first, guys. I'm not the person that just immediately looks for confirmation bias. I try to disprove my own theories aggressively. If I don't know, if for no other reason, because I want them to be respected. I want them to be something that others scrutinize and say, yeah, dude, we looked at your information and you've got some pretty solid record keeping there. And, you know, or, hey, dude, yeah, okay, I understand that you found this and connected it to this, but I'm afraid that I can't piece that together. Whatever. If one's the case, then great, tell me, and then we'll work on it from that level. If the other is, then great. Then let's work on the information and build on it and do something. Hang on, guys. It's getting a little stuffy, so I got to turn on some air conditioner. So there was that, and then I started just getting reports like about, you know, these things involving what do you want to call it? People telling me more about directed energy weapons in general and asking me questions about it. And but in my wireless industry experience, it wasn't really a topic that was covered. I mean, just telling you guys, like, I didn't think about directed energy weapons. It wasn't a topic of discussion. It wasn't something that we dealt with. I dealt with radio frequency at a pure communication path level, and all those other things were just theories and things that they put on the internet that I didn't have a vested interest in. And it wasn't until I had left and spent considerable time researching all these things that I understood all the dynamics of what's out there, what can be used, what is being used, how can it be concealed, etc. And so as I started to get this information, I started questioning people. I even said to my family, like, hey, I got a tip. You know, I would get these tips on various things. And I would ask questions. And I guess it just bothered me because I really couldn't understand why, especially like something with my grandma. I mean, if I have something that I want to say about that in particular, I would expect somebody to be like, I mean, are they taking the position that I'm being like, I'm disrespecting her death by even mentioning this? Am I exploiting her death? I mean, is that the angle they're playing? Because what am I supposed to do, you guys? Do I just let this information pass my way and I say, well, it's too controversial to bring up, so maybe I should just say that even though she never smoked a cigarette in her life, she died of throat cancer through, quote, natural causes? That's really not normal. It's just not. But yeah, guys. Yeah, exposed lights. You got a lot of you're hitting some good points there because there's quite a few people that are in the alt media community that are playing this like directed energy information game. What I try to get people to understand is like you can't really disconnect. How do I say it? Human trafficking and child child porn networks nearly always have an electronic weapon, rogue directed energy weapon component to it, because the people that are involved with that, it's like any operation that's a criminal enterprise. They need to have their guns, okay? What these people have learned is that they're already using directed energy on their victims. They use people for energy sources, for psychotronic generators to take their plasma out of their bodies. It's easily taken away from children because they're still growing. So they're producing more bioplasma exponentially faster because it's literally building blocks that allow them to grow. And so what these people will do oftentimes is keep these children as like just a slave class of plasma sources, and they stay perpetually emaciated. They never get a chance to grow like normal children because their plasma is so aggressively being taken from them by the people that are feeding off of them, taking the plasma and feeding off of it, and then pretending that they're their parents or pretending that they're, you know, whatever. But no, they're just fuel sources to them. And a lot of these people are in the alt media community because what they've learned is if you're going to be involved with child trafficking, you need to control all the narratives surrounding child trafficking. And so that's one thing I'll give about, even though I'm very suspect of the Isaac Cappy narrative overall, this is their dynamic, guys. And I don't want to get into an argument about how legit or illegit he was, because everybody, look, you guys have more information on that than I do. But I looked deeper into it today because I was inspired basically because he said so many things about Tom Hanks. And I kept on learning that Tom Hanks was in a lot of these timeline movies in really obvious ways. So I don't have an opinion on Tom Hanks overall. I didn't really get into the information on what they said he did or didn't do. I just don't personally find all the narratives surrounding him and the characters that surround the narratives about Tom Hanks specifically, I don't find them trustworthy. I don't find those characters that are doing those narratives trustworthy. That's all, guys. Now, it doesn't mean that they're lying, and I'm not going to say that. All right. I'm saying that it doesn't feel like it doesn't resonate very true to me. And Isaac Cappy didn't resonate true to me. And the reason why they come up with these more convincing narratives is because what they're really trying to do is to get you to be spooked away sometimes from somebody who's actually helping. They get you vested into the character that's like going, bad, 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 bad. And then they fake die. And then you're going to hate the celebrity that was attached to their story, who may actually have been one of the people that was doing something good. I don't know, guys, because I don't really get into like fanboy things in general. And I'm not a big like Tom Hanks like promoter. I'm not a guy that was ever like, yeah, he's awesome. I love seeing all of his movies. Quite honestly, to be honest with you, I really kind of got tired of Tom Hanks's work over time. I didn't really enjoy a lot of his dramatic work, especially over the last decade. I didn't really find it that compelling like a lot of other people did. And some of the people that were close to me really liked a lot of his movies, and I just didn't find them that entertaining. Again, no offense to him. It was mostly that I found his comedies of the 80s really, really entertaining. I thought some of the dramatic work was compelling, but over time I just lost interest in it. That's all, guys. And there's a lot of actors that are like that I just, for whatever reason, actors and actresses, directors too, that I was once a huge fan. And then over time I'm like, yeah, whatever. But when I started reviewing films like Splash, The Man with One Red Shoe, what else? There's quite a few, actually. Volunteers. What else? Oh, God. Very early Tom Hanks movies. Sometimes even the most ridiculous, benign ones, guys. It's really weird how many he was in. And then the fact that he partners with Dan Akroyd a couple times. Dan Akroyd partnered with Chevy Chase, and that quite a few of these people partnered with the director John Landis. And this is what I found, guys. Seems to be a link within the timeline films relative to some of these comedic actors, because comedies were a great place to hide information. That the lines can be kind of goofy and slapstick, and if they don't make linear sense, people will think that they just didn't get a joke, when it was really a timeline clue. It's really something that's warning you about a future event. I saw it too many times, guys, in things like Dan Akroyd movies, like Ghostbusters, like Spies Like Us, especially Spies Like Us. Think about the plot line of Spies Like Us, you guys. I mean, you know what happens in that? It was done during the Cold War, and spoilers here, guys. You know, they basically dupe Dan Akroyd and Chevy Chase into being like fake spies because they try to cheat on their exams at the CIA. So the CIA says, these are the dumbest guys we've ever seen in our lives. Let's put them into the field as decoys and patsies, for the real agents that are going to do an operation in Afghanistan. And then they're going to cross over into the border of Russia or something like that was the plan, right? And then they wind up having to intercept like a missile that's going to be launched at the United States. And here's the trippy part, dude. The way they go about doing it is Chevy Chase's character uses his body as an electrical arc. to hack the missile. So Dan Akroyd does all the computer hacking, and he goes, "I need you to form a bridge." And so Chevy Chase is literally going, letting all the information pass through him before they prevent the war with Russia. And then at the end of the film, again, spoilers, guys, Chevy Chase comes out of the door and goes, "Everybody, we're in the middle of some very intense discussions with Russia right now. And it's a very sensitive moment. And we're just going to ask you to be patient until we get this negotiation done, please." Keep in mind, guys, we were still in a Cold War with them when this movie came out. And then Chevy Chase goes back in there, and all the people that, you know, they all stopped the missile together in Russia because none of them wanted it to happen, right? They're just playing Trivial Pursuit. And so it's like, you know, what person, you know, what singer sang Tutti Frutti, you know, something like that, right? Back in 1950, whatever. And so the Russians like going, you know, like, is it Little Richard? You know, so that's all they're doing. They're not negotiating. They're just having fun playing a board game and hanging out and, you know, whatever, and everything's going to work out just fine. And that was kind of the theme of the movie. And so you'll find that sometimes that may be part of what was being told to us, but they didn't know how to communicate this in the Cold War era. How would you tell a country that was in a Cold War with another country that someday ahead of time that you would eventually be in a peacekeeping operation with them? A silly comedy might help. It's because no one's going to take it seriously. But if a select class of people know to take it seriously, and they're waiting for a person who can decrypt it, like they were, and that was part of Project Stargate. And so what I was told was the people that manipulated Project Stargate wanted falsified data sets, misapplied to a lot of these things that I'm talking about. It wasn't just films. There was lots of things where they dropped timeline information, books, magazines, I mean, everything. It was done in a lot of different places, and a lot of different groups do it for various reasons. And that's why I think right now, especially when you add in CERN, particle accelerators, the manipulation of electromagnetic fields at a very aggressive rate, and the fact that when you think about it, guys, electromagnetism is representations of space and time. You know, one is a representation of space, the other is a representation of time as an E and an M field. And so any electromagnetic manipulation done in great significance and over-amplified has an effect on the overall electromagnetic spectrum and electromagnetic fields, okay? So and that's what, I guess that's one of the reasons why now I really want us to start thinking about the biofield and the trinity of human energy, so people grasp this concept better and understand their internal power, that you can actually push back. You can actually just work with other people and come up with a common ideology that works for you and them, even if you're different. I mean, what you just do, guys, is if you're different, radically different even than somebody else is, you just find the one or two things that you can agree on and just start there. I mean, really, right now our country is in bad shape. And what we really need to start do is to recognize that the leaders at certain levels are causing this. They're allowing it. They're letting a certain criminal class take over. And we don't have to allow that. Our country was founded on fighting something, you know, very similar in nature. We're just seeing a different iteration of it now. And again, this is a fight that doesn't necessarily require guns and bombs and knives or anything like that. I don't think it does. This is a metaphysical, spiritual battle. And it does involve increasing our awareness about what our internal human machine is capable of doing within the plasma field. And this is not bullshit. You need to know it. I'm telling you, because there's times where, like, even when I'm being hit with something that's pretty strong, there's a way that I can sort of tune into it with focused concentration. It's strange to explain to you guys, but like, yes, I experience some things from time to time because I do research these things. And I've learned to just combat things with brain power in ways that I think that, you know, I can actually teach other people how to do it. There's there's things that you can act that are practicable techniques that involve meditation and breathing, concentration exercises that do help. And then there's those magic blankets, which I promise you make a huge difference. Wool blends, all of it. All right. So yeah, guys, all I'm trying to say is that some of these all media narratives that are out there, as convincing as they are and as emotionally vested as they get you in to believe a lot of these people are horrible, they're not all horrible. Now, that being said, does that mean that I think that Steven Spielberg is squeaky clean? Not necessarily, because the same guy talked shit about him, and some other celebrities have too. So I don't know. I think you just have to ask yourself how the person's work resonates with you individually. Do you feel menaced by it? How does it resonate with you? And I think you need to start. I think more people right now, especially because the disinformation is becoming so sophisticated. Everything I read about Isaac Cappy bothered me because, again, the thing that bothers me is everybody seems to hinge validation on whether or not a person supports Lift the Veil or doesn't support Lift the Veil. And I'm like, guys, what if all these people are all on the same freaking team and they're all faking it? Oh, you don't like Lift the Veil. Oh, you don't like Isaac Cappy. Oh, but they're all part of the same narrative. And the whole point of it is at the end for the fake guy to jump off the bridge and for you to go, I hate these celebrities. Then you close yourself off to something that you may need to know. That's all. So yeah, some are freaking evil, guys. And when they are, I'm totally willing, if there's tangible evidence, I'm totally willing to kind of go, hey man, what were you doing there? Or why were you doing that? Or whatever. Or if they do seem a little bit off. Guys, at the same time, I was researching Seth Green's records relative to these things. And Isaac Cappy talked about that guy too. So to me, it just feels a little bit too crossover. Like Isaac Cappy was conveniently there to actually investigate things that I was already investigating. Except I had a slightly different take on it. And I had absolutely no information on Tom Hanks ever. The only time I ever came across something on Tom Hanks was recently, and it was that he may be involved with timeline help, dropping warnings about future events in films that came out in the 80s, similar to what I think Chevy Chase, was involved in. I think that the You Can Call Me Al video is a big part of that, with Paul Simon, directed by Gary Weiss. These are all symbolic communication. They use color code, they use handshakes, they use hand signs, they use symbolic communications by highlighting certain instruments. And You Can Call Me Al, guys, he holds up a penny whistle. It's specifically a penny whistle. He holds up a red drum. Red rum, red rum, red drum. Penny whistle. I guess it's a coincidence my mother's name is Penny. Anyways, I did look like Chevy quite a bit growing up, mostly in my adolescence, less today. So I'm not sold on this idea that we're even related, dude. I mean, he's pretty tall and I'm not. I mean, I'm tall, but I'm not like super tall. And I would say he's like one of those people that's above average height. Then I would not call myself above average in height. I'm average at best. I barely reach 6 foot. The only reason why I would even be called 6 foot is because I'm 6 foot with socks on and shoes. I don't even reach 6 foot. I'm actually a quarter inch shy, to be honest with you. It's literally 5 foot 11 inches and 3/4. I go back to the doctor. I was like, did I make it? Did I get that extra quarter inch? No, you never made it 6 foot. 5'11 and 3/4. Missed it by that much. And he gets smart fans. All right. All right. So getting into more about like this whole thing with timeline drops. Dragnet in particular, you guys, if you watch it again or just read the screenplay, all I'm going to ask you to do is this time start asking, why is that sign in the montage scene? So if you see a montage where like Joe Friday's going like, welcome to Los Angeles. The streets are filled with, you know, people that are here to pursue their dreams. You know, that kind of thing. And then they're just cutting from scene to scene to scene or shot to shot to shot. Start asking yourself, why did they choose that donut shop? Why did they choose to focus on the magazine with that date and time on it? Or why did they focus on a billboard with that specific person on it? Because celluloid, especially when everything wasn't on digital, was expensive. It was a very, very expensive process to make even the most basic film on 35 millimeter, okay? It's all been cheapened because of digital photography, but the celluloid and the cost of film back then was huge, and not many people could afford to make a production without a studio's help. Now it's different. I mean to say that you can't just waste time on a cutaway shot like that when you're dealing with 35 millimeter film and it's that expensive. Every shot counts. Every angle matters. Every single thing they point their camera at when it goes cut, 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 shot, cut. Everything in a montage matters. When you keep that in mind and then watch a movie that's a passive comedy, watch like a Golden Child with Eddie Murphy has a lot of this information, tons of it. So the Golden Child with Eddie Murphy, Dragnet 1987, films involving Michael Ritchie in particular. I don't know what it is, dude, but all of his movies have this thing going on. All of Michael Ritchie's movies. Bad News Bears. What else did he do? Golden Child. Fletch. Oh, yeah, the Fletch movies. Heavily. Not only that, but those are actually pretty damn entertaining. I actually think those are funny. So, yeah, that's trippy. Somebody here in the chat says that they got an RH factor test when they started having twitches out of nowhere. See, I'm wondering, guys, if that's what this is doing, if some of these technologies is affecting people with more higher levels of metal particulates in their blood, which is consistent with the RH negative and O blood type. Something tells me that that's the group that's experiencing a lot of this just out of nowhere, even if nothing's like specifically entrained. And that's why I'm concerned. I mean, it's not just their blood group. I think there's going to be factors of which the further you get away or the closer you are to that blood group, the more those people are going to be experiencing these twitches and pains because of the common concentrations of metals inside their blood. It's a hypothesis, but I think it's one that's valid and worth exploring further and collecting more information on in a way that's a little bit more structured and scientific. I lack the funding right now to do it is all, but I have, I think, the talent, at least as far as knowing like how to go about most of it, like what to ask for. Then after that, I just need to find a couple people to work with that can actually facilitate some of the testing as far as, you know, blood and things like that. But I think that's actually going to find its way, you know. I think there's people that are going to have an interest in doing that and help out, because we have to just start doing something like this on our own, guys. The people that are out there validating these things, they're the part of the bloodline war, just so you know, is changing perceptions about the Human Genome Project. They want you to think that they are this holy class of protected genetics, like they're a genetic seed bank, the bloodline family. Not all of them are, guys. Some of them are faking it, and they're taking that away from some of us who actually have it. And you know the people who have it versus the ones that don't. The ones who have it won't be that fucking greedy. The ones who have it, I mean, yeah, they can be, but no. They're just more hived. They're just generally people that care more about the collective. That's all I know. It's just something that's part of your DNA. It's a little bit inside you. Even if you're malevolent in nature, you're still within your malevolence. You still have a larger concern for a larger group. It's less of a selfish malevolence. It's difficult to say. You'd be more of a figurehead of malevolence than a person that just tries to suck energy from everyone. Like, you wouldn't do it to your own in that case, but you would be the person that would defend the evil ones most vehemently, if that makes sense. So, but how did I learn about it? It was basically because I experienced like some just garbage luck over and over again. And I had all kinds of horrible things happening to me, pretty much around 2011, 2012. And, but I didn't know where it was originating from. And this is when my family started getting weird. But they were also helping me. And at the time, you know, like, they were really able to work like guilt circuits on me and make me feel like something was wrong with me when I was actually a really good person. And for some strange reason, I just felt ashamed of myself and I wanted to please them really badly. I'd lost my job at that time, you know. I mean, it wasn't a big deal, guys. It's just, you know, sometimes you just need to make a change, you know. But I'd lost my fiance, much through my own doing. And so I was just in a pretty much a huge state of a significant depression, I would say, at that time. And it just seemed like they were there to pretend that they were helping, but it was really doing me exponential harm. All the things that were going on around me, it was changing my beliefs. It was changing my values. Even one of the people close to me at the time, I said, why are you guys calling me the wizard and saying that you got to kill the wizard? Why do you guys keep saying that around me? This is bizarre. Why are you guys doing this? It's like they were trying to gaslight my reality and make me seem like I was losing my mind by making it happen. And I was asking, like, why are you guys doing it? And why do you keep calling me the wizard? My name is Gabe. Stop calling me the fucking wizard. Why are you doing that? I was getting upset with them. And he goes, because we're trying to kill the wizard in your mind. I just want the rest of the cruises to know that one of your kinfolks said that to my face. I'm going to keep saying this until one of y'all just say, like, hey, Gabe, I'm sorry. You don't have to say you're sorry, even just be like, you know, dude, we didn't know, or something. Will one of you do it? Like, dude, we didn't know. Somebody? Because, like, guys, this is like, I'm just like kind of going, really? Like, none of you. Not a single one of you want to raise your hand and go like, I'm willing to question this with you, Gabe. Not a single one. Because I really thought that there was like way, way stronger people. And that's all. I expected more. That's all, guys. I really had higher expectations. I really thought that there were more people of integrity, of honor, of decency. They care about people and humanity. I just thought there was more. It was one thing to deal with the disappointment of my immediate family and knowing what was going on within some of them. But now this is like the extended aspect of it. I'm like really kind of looking around going like, nobody, not a single person wants to step forward and say, hey, Gabe, how do we fix this together? It's all just, no, dead to me. Seems like it. I mean, no one said that to me directly, but I'm not getting answers. So just telling you guys, that's something you want to look into. Because you know. All right, guys. I'm going to close it up now. I do appreciate everybody joining. I do need some additional funding, folks, to keep things going for the next week or so. So I'm just going to put the feelers out now before the situation gets worse or whatever. So anybody that can contribute, I'd really appreciate it. Just trying to get through this next hump. I think things are going to improve soon, but you know, right now, yeah, it would really help those who can contribute and like to tune in regularly. Anybody who can, I do appreciate it. If not, you'd like to just consult with me or hire me for measurements and things like that, you can contact me. Everything's at the very bottom of my description section. All my emails, everything involving like how to contribute, whatever, all of it's there. Email addresses, all the payment services, everything. So you can contact me there. And I really appreciate everybody joining and listening and everything.